Back at Arrowhead, Bob Costas along with Bob Trumpy. The Broncos at 5-1, the Chiefs at 4-2. At last report, San Diego was pounding Baltimore 30-7 in the third quarter. So evidently the Chargers will go to 5-2. Thus, a Kansas City victory here would create a three-way deadlock for the top. But if Denver can win, they'd maintain a game edge apparently over San Diego and pull to 2 games in front of Kansas City. The overall series between these teams, the Chiefs lead at 29-13. They are old rivals dating back to the days of the original AFL. And there is Dan Reeves at 37, the youngest head coach in the National Football League, longtime assistant under Tom Landry at Dallas. And there is Marv Levy in his 4th season as the Chiefs head coach, and they have improved every year under him. They started 0-4 in 1980. Since then, the remainder of the 80 campaign and this year, they are 12-6. They finished up last year at 8-8, and this year off to a 4-2 start.
Bob, if I may mention, today we have all the ingredients for a great football game. Both of these teams are on a roll, playing excellent offensive football, both playing very, very good defensive football. The weather is clear. The wind may be a factor in the ball game, but in a big game like this, special teams play so much a part of it. Field position for either or both teams. Normally, when the game is over, you look back and say, that's why we won.
Nick Lowry to kick it off for Kansas City. Wade Manning is the deep man in the middle of a 3-deep set, standing near the goal line, and Manning is driven back into the end zone, and he'll stay there. The Broncos take the touchback and will take over on the 20-yard line.
That is a kick with the wind. It is going from the right hand into the field to the left into the field.
There's Craig Morton with 13 touchdown passes, completing 65% of his throws, the #1 rated passer in the National Football League. You saw his backs, and there are his targets. Watson has caught 7 scoring passes. Moses and Odom, of course, are veterans. Paul Howard has a calf contusion, but nonetheless he is starting at right guard. The Broncos have been free of injuries for the most part throughout the season. On the other hand, the Chiefs have 9 players on injured reserve, 3 of them starters. Dave Preston carries on first down for about 3. And the Chief defense, 2/3 of their starting front 3 out. Both Parrish and Still out. Still is on injured reserve, could come back in a while. Whitney Paul, Jerry Blanton, Gary Spaney, and Charles Jackson are the linebackers. Green and Harris are the corners. Barbaro and Burris are the safeties.
Excellent group right there you just saw. Those defensive backs of the Kansas City Chiefs.
2nd down and 7 from the 23-yard line. Tony Reed, the former Chief, will carry. And Reed gets back to the line of scrimmage and maybe a yard or 2 after that. Reed, a 1,000-yard rusher in 1978 for the Chiefs, cut down by Eric Harris. The Chiefs dealt into Denver this year, got a 3rd-round choice this season and a 4th-round pick next year for him.
You mentioned Tony Reed in that 1,000-yard season he had in 78. That was the last time Kansas City had a 1,000-yard rusher, and the first time since 1967 that the Chiefs had a 1,000-yard rusher, and that was Mike Garrett.
3rd down, and we'll call it 5 yards to go. Watson comes out to the right. And Rick Upchurch is in the lineup now, wearing number 80, and he comes wide to the left. Morton will go out of the shotgun and throw for the first time. Does not have the first down. It's off the fingertips of Dave Preston. Covered on the play by Whitney Paul, number 53. Don Parrish was putting a strong rush on him. Parrish, who began the year as the starting nose tackle, gave that starting position up, but still comes in pass rushing situations. He put heavy pressure on Morton, and the pass fell incomplete. There's J.T. Smith back to receive the punt by Luke Preston.
Bob, so far this season, the Denver Broncos have scored on 30% of their offensive possessions. That just shows you the type of role that the Denver offense is on.
Prestige had that 65-yard punt a week ago in a win over Detroit. He punted 3 times for an average of 55 yards in that game.
He's kicking against the wind. Kansas City has 10 men up.
Last year, Prestige was the AFC punting champion. This is a relatively short, wobbly kick. J.T. Smith takes the fair catch at the 47, and the Chiefs are in business. Just a 30-yard punt by Prestige and no return.
Now, see, this may be a big factor in the ball game. As I said at the top, special teams as you look at the offensive set of the Kansas City Chiefs, Robert.
Ted McKnight had knee surgery this week, and Delaney takes over for him. Delaney was playing a lot anyway. Marshall, a big game last week with 6 receptions. J.T. Smith, the other wide receiver, and Dixon, the tight end. And there is their offensive line, one of the few areas for the Chiefs which has been injury-free this season. First play from scrimmage, and Delaney carries, and Delaney gets about 3 to midfield. In each of the last 2 weeks, he has rushed for over 100 yards. That has happened only twice before in Chiefs history. Mike Garrett in 67, Tony Reed in 78. The 3-4 unit for the Broncos, Chavis, Carter, and Rulon Jones, their leading sack man with 7. Swenson, Evans, Gradishar, and Jackson, outstanding linebacking unit. Wright and Kyle are the corners. Foley and Thompson are the Broncos safety. Joe Collier, of course, the defensive coordinator for Denver, and there is none better in the National Football League. Delaney again. Delaney slides through that hole and has first down yardage for the Chiefs. One thing that the Chiefs offensive linemen say about Delaney, you don't have to sustain a block very long. He hits the hole quickly.
8 yards on the carry by Joe Delaney, and they are facing a defense that's #1 in the NFL. And last week, though, they allowed Billy Sims 185 yards rushing on 28 carries. And Marv Levy tries to start the ball game out very conservative to establish a line of scrimmage. That time, Denver had 4 men on the defensive front. Kansas City still with 8 yards.
From the Denver 41 on first down, the Chiefs' first possession. They give it to Hadnot, and Hadnot, who gets most of his work as a blocking back for Delaney, carries the ball for about 10 yards, and depending upon where they spot it, he'll have a first down.
Bob, I make a simple statement. If you can beat the nose man in the 34 defense, you can beat the defense. The nose man, number 68, Reuben Carter. You see the double team, Buddy and Rudney on 68 Reuben Carter. If you can get that man out of the defensive front, you can gain yardage, because then it puts added pressure on those linebackers.
Rudney and Condon with the blocks to open that one up for Hadnot. As we mentioned, the Chiefs have 9 players on injured reserve. Ted McKnight, Frank Manualiuna, Paul Dombrowski, and Art Still among them. Also, Thomas Howard, who's not on injured reserve, is out of the starting lineup. Normally a starting linebacker. He's got a knee injury, so several key players for the Chiefs not in action today. Joe Delaney carries for a short gain.
Once again, watch 68. He is the secret to this defense. If he can stand that center up, hold his ground, and he does not there, then that 34 defense is highly successful. Rudney, the center of the Kansas City Chiefs, been there for absolutely years and years and years on in. In his 12th season, he is a good technician on a nose man. Could be an interesting confrontation for all 4 quarters today.
Second down and 6 upcoming. And Delaney is collared in the backfield and slammed down at the 30-yard line by Greg Boyd, number 77.
He is their pass rusher, and you can see the size of that gentleman. 6'6", 280 pounds, but he just, it appeared that he had a predetermined move inside, and there was nothing that the offensive tackle could do for him. There he is, 77 on Delaney.
Third down and 9 upcoming, Trump. If they don't get it here, Nick Lowry has this kind of range. He had a 52-yarder in the win last week over Oakland and kicked 4 of better than 50 yards a season ago. The first down is what they have on their minds. Kenney has plenty of time to unload to the sideline, broken up. Louis Wright reached in and batted it away, but a flag goes down and possible pass interference against the Broncos, and that appears to be what it is.
Well, when you pick on Louis Wright, the cornerback of the Denver Broncos, you're picking on one of the best there is in the business, and there was a great deal of hand fighting going down the field there. It appeared to be man-on-man coverage, bump and run all the way. And the flag, as I believe you are correct, is going to go against Denver. Let's see what the talk is here.
John Keck, the umpire, comes over with his back to you, number 4. The referee is Dick Jorgensen, and Jorgensen will make the official call. Jorgensen, the referee, John Keck, the umpire, LaCorey Haggerty, the headlinesman, Boyce Smith, the line judge, the back judge, Roy Clymer, the side judge, Royal Cathcart, and the field judge is Dick Dolak. And on first down, we're about the 14-yard line of Denver. Hadnot carries, and Hadnot breaks tackles. A flag goes down, and Hadnot goes too, but not before. He gains about 8 yards. A little extracurricular activity down there. Give him a gain of 9.
Let's see who they're talking to. Offside, Denver. Well, will they make it 1st and 5 or 2nd and 1? There's Dan Reeves. Let's see if we can see who jumps. Can't really tell, but when Delaney gains 106 yards last week rushing and Hadnot does most of the blocking, Obviously, they're just Denver is keying on Joe Delaney and Hadnot up through the middle.
Willie Scott, their number 1 draft choice, number 81. And Dick Jorgensen makes it official that they decline the penalty. Willie Scott has come in on the 2nd and short situation, the rookie tight end. And Billy Jackson is also in the lineup, number 43, reserve running back. Don Latimer checks in for Denver, number 72, as they try and stuff this play on 2nd down. Just inside 10 minutes to play. Jackson carries. Jackson has the first down.
Great block by 48 James Hadnot. Kicked out on number 22 Aaron Kyle of the Denver Broncos. And Jackson was able to turn it up underneath that block and get the needed yardage for a first down. Excellent play by the Kansas City Chiefs.
And now Ed Beckman comes in with a play from the sidelines, as going out is Henry Marshall, the wide receiver from Missouri. So Levy has sent something into Kenney here. Kansas City has 4 first downs on the drive. Denver had the ball for 3 plays after the opening kickoff, couldn't move, and Preston punted. First and goal from the 3-yard line. In motion, Beckman. They give it to Hadnot, and Hadnot gets close, but not in.
Hadnot came out of college where he had played running back for just 2 years, was a converted tight end. When he came to the Kansas City Chiefs, they expected him to be a big blunderbuss type of running back, but he didn't have a lot of upper body strength. So in the offseason, they put him on the weights, and now the result is he can not only carry the ball, but he's an excellent blocker, and so far has been the secret to this drive for Kansas City, Bob.
You got to look at Marv Levy in his 4th season as the Chiefs head coach. Second and less than a yard. Over the top, Billy Jackson, and the rookie from Alabama scores. The Chiefs lead it 6-0.
Wow, that was awful easy for the Kansas City Chiefs to go down the field on the best defense in the NFL. That's 50. It's about 53 yards on the touchdown drive. That's rather impressive if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Rather disconcerting if you're a Denver Bronco fan. Offensive line controlled the line of scrimmage. Got just a little bit of bow. Enabled Jackson to get his feet up underneath him and get up in the air. That's an easy 6 points.
Nick Lowry, who leads the AFC in scoring with 55 points and is 2nd overall in the league to Dallas's Rafael Septiano has 58. Tacks on the 7th. He is now 17 of 17 for the season on his point after tries. And with 8 minutes and 37 seconds to play in the first quarter, it's Chiefs 7, Broncos nothing at Arrowhead. Right now, the fans at Arrowhead being regaled by the Chiefs fight song, which was written by none other than Marv Levy, the head coach.
Marv Hamlin, she ain't, but it's a song.
And the boot by Lowry. Last time, they went with the touchback. This one comes down to the 5-yard line. And they get it back across the 20. Rob Lytle returning it. And again, relatively poor field position for Denver. The numbers on the drive: 9 plays, 52 yards. Took almost 5 minutes. Billy Jackson scores the touchdown.
That's one of the ways to beat any team, and that is to keep their offense off the field. If you can hold it for 5 minutes and 52 seconds, that certainly cools off the Denver offense.
For Billy Jackson, by the way, the 3rd touchdown of his rookie season. Now Craig Morton brings the Broncos up, and historically, with Dallas, the Giants, and now with Denver, Morton has had great success against Kansas City. He is 8-2 lifetime against the Chiefs. Prior to last season, he was 8-0. He fires this one long. His man is out there at a battle for the football. They tussle for it. Who came down with it?
Offense. In case of a tie, it goes to the offense. They both had possession of the football. Rick Upchurch, I believe, realized that, did not wrestle for the ball, just maintained possession, and it is about a 35 or 40-yard completion. 41 yards on the completion. Eric Harris on the coverage, and wouldn't you know it, with the success that Denver's had, they're almost magical so far this year. Now watch this. This is an excellent play by Rick Upchurch, who's coming off a bad knee. This is the first game he's played in, realizing that as long as he holds onto the ball, they're going to give it to him. He doesn't try to wrestle with Harris. Big play.
As we mentioned earlier, the Chiefs lead the overall series between the clubs 29-13, but prior to last season, Denver had won 8 in a row. Then the Chiefs swept 2 from the Broncos last season. The first 2 times they had ever beaten Craig Morton. Here comes the reverse to Upchurch. Upchurch looking for a hole, finds one, slides between tacklers, and gets down to the 34-yard line before Jerry Blanton, along along with Whitney Paul, brings him down.
And Denver got away with a clip. 81 Steve Watson came back on number 57, I do believe, Blanton. Blanton got in on the play, but you'll see the entire play from behind the offense. This young man right here can do just about everything. I think you'll see the clip right. No, there he comes in right there. It was Howard, 60, excuse me, I had the wrong man, but it was a clip and they dodged a bullet.
They got 3 yards out of it. Second down and 7 from the 34 of Kansas City. Clock moving, 6:50 to play in the first quarter. The Chiefs, after scoring on their initial drive, lead at 7-0. Couple of play fakes by Morton. And now Morton pops up top for Egloff. There it is. They're a point away from tying it. Ron Egloff, the reserve tight end, 50-year man from Wisconsin, gets free. There's a flag in the backfield. Let's see what the call's going to be.
It's going to be against Denver.
Chiefs are clapping their hands. Could be a hold.
Morton very, very upset, too. That was a well-thrown football and a good pattern run by 85 Egloff on 34 Lord Burris, who is just a rookie. We'll find out what the call is and who it's on. Dan Reeves does not agree. Couldn't make it out, did you?
No, we've had trouble the first couple of times with Dick Jorgensen's microphone at Arrowhead. We know it's against the Chiefs. We can't make out exactly who the guilty party was, rather against the Broncos. Can't make out exactly who was guilty, but it moves the ball back to the 44-yard line of Kansas City. And instead of a 7-6 game, it's still 7-0 Chiefs. Wright and Egloff are in a double tight end set. They're both on the right side. They go with the draw. Rick Parros. Not much, a yard or two. Jerry Blanton makes the tackle on Parros, who a week ago had 77 yards against Detroit, his best game as a pro.
Well, Jerry Blanton, too, is also making his first start of the season. He tore up his knee in the final exhibition. Cal Peterson, who was the leading tackler last week, he was not fooled a bit. Kansas City was not fooled a bit. Oh, excuse me, 53 on the tackle. Whitney Paul.
Well, these Chiefs are really banged up defensively, especially on the left side. With Howard out, Manamaliuna is out. Art Still might come off injured reserve a week from now. He has a knee strain. He's gone. Dombrowski, the nickelback, usually out. Morton looking out of the shotgun. Morton pumping another long one. This is over everybody. Haven Moses was in the general vicinity. The coverage by Lloyd Burris, number 34.
Wow.
So now it's 4th and 15 upcoming. And they have to punt on a drive which momentarily appeared to be leading to a tie ball game. J.T. Smith drops back. On the last Prestige boot, which carried only 30 yards, Smith went with a fair catch. Now Prestige will be aiming for the coffin corner with 5 minutes and 55 seconds to play in the first quarter.
10 men up by Kansas City once again.
Prestige with time to get it away. Angles it for the left side, but Smith takes it on the fly. Can't sidestep tackler, driven back shy of the 15-yard line. Mike Harden, number 31, got down there, and he makes the stop. 5:46 to play. Quarter number 1. 34-yard punt that time by Prestige. Will return to Arrowhead after this.
Now watch the hit by Dennis Smith here. A little high. It appears he grabs the face mask of J.T. Smith, but then has the presence to let it go. I think they dodged a bullet. It was inadvertent, but they could have called a flag on that one.
And here we are, Bob Costas along with Bob Trumpy. The Chiefs get the ball back, and they really made it look easy the first time they had it.
I agree with you. I imagine Denver is very, very surprised at the effortless way that Kansas City went 52 yards to score.
All right, Bill Kenney back now calling the signals. He made his debut as an NFL starter a year ago as a flag flies, and Delaney gets virtually nothing. His debut as an NFL starter against the Broncos here at Arrowhead last December, and engineered the victory.
Illegal procedure, Kansas City. I think they had 2 guys in motion, which is a no-no. You mentioned Bill Kenney. He still lives in Greeley, Colorado, the stockbroker there. And I suppose this is for bragging rights in the offseason when he heads back to penalty decline. It'll be second down and about 8. And we hope to get Mr. Jorgensen's mic fixed before the afternoon is over.
What would you rather have, 1st and 15 or 2nd down and 8?
I get with the number 1 defense in the NFL, 2nd and 8.
That's what Dan Reeves decided. 5:41 remaining in the first quarter. Kenney gives the ball to Delaney again, and Delaney runs into a stone wall and gets 3 very tough yards out of it. Bob Swenson was there to hit him first. Delaney had a 100 double last week, better than 100 yards rushing, better than 100 receiving, including a 61-yard catch against Oakland.
There's Rulon Jones. You got to admire this kid. He comes out of Utah State last year, and he breaks into a lineup that really didn't need an awful lot of help. So far this season, he leads the Denver Broncos in sacks with 7.
Broncos as a club have 21 quarterback sacks for the year. 3rd and 5 from the 18-yard line. They try and cross him up with the run, and Delaney will be stopped way short. They'll have to punt.
Joe Delaney on the carry.
Larry Evans, number 56, was there first to stop him.
Still staying with the very conservative approach Kansas City is. They want to establish control of that line of scrimmage. Very easy to say, very difficult to do. Bob Krupp, last week he had a big part, I believe, in the victory that the Kansas City Chiefs had. Kicked the ball very well. Excellent.
Averaging just shy of 40 yards per punt this season. And there's Wade Manning, the deep man. Rick Upchurch has been hurt, a variety of ailments this year, missed 3 full games as a result, so Manning is the return man now. A low kick, very returnable, and he gets into Kansas City territory. Fumble. 2 Denver players had a hand on it, and evidently it will be Bronco ball. A 42-yard kick by Grupp, but very low, and it allowed a 13-yard return by Wade Manning. It's Denver ball in Kansas City territory at the Chiefs 46 when we come back. And there's evidence about that stiff wind we were talking about earlier.
But that's at the top of the stadium. The interesting thing is, Bob, at the floor of the stadium, the wind is blowing the opposite direction. Now against the Denver Broncos for the Kansas City Chiefs.
4:17 to play in the first quarter. Denver with the ball just shy of the Chiefs 45-yard line. And Morton with a short drop throws on first down, and the catch is made by Steve Watson. Watson has the 10 yards he needs, it looks like it, for the first down. They're going to spot the ball right at about the 35. Let's look at some scores from earlier games. Look at that final.
I don't believe that.
Be a happy week for you guys in Cincinnati, Trump. 34-7, the Bengals over the Steelers. New England beats Houston 38-10 for the Patriots, their 2nd victory of the season. And the Jets top Buffalo 33-14.
Wow. Interesting weekend in football.
So the Jets have played some good football of late. They beat Houston, they played an overtime tie with Miami, they beat New England, and today they clobber Buffalo. Buffalo is next, by the way, on the schedule for the Broncos. Preston carries, and he's stopped by Charles Jackson, number 51.
Obviously now field position very much in favor of the Denver Broncos. And it's a little more comfortable if you're an offensive player to go on the field knowing you got first and about 45 to score.
There are no more unbeaten teams in the NFL. The Vikings beat Philadelphia 35-23.
And I bet you Tommy Kramer threw it about 60 times.
Well, we got Kramer with at least 4 touchdown passes, according to our score sheet, in that victory. 35-23 for the Vikes, who now go to 5-2, and Philly falls to 6-1. 2nd down and 6 from the 31-yard line of Kansas City. Clock winds down, 23 minutes to play in the first quarter. Upchurch in motion. Morton in trouble. Lobs it out to Watson. And is he ever drilled? Gary Green came up from the left corner and walloped it.
Let's give credit where credit is due here. Number 71, Dave Lindstrom. You'll see he gets his hands up in front of Craig Morton, and he can't throw it when he wants to. That gives Gary Green. It's also Whitney Paul, 53. That gives Green a chance to get up there and make the tackle in front of the offensive tackle, 71. That's a hello, how are you to the young man from Temple.
So the play by Gary Green creates a loss of 1. 3rd down and 7 from the 32. 2:20 to play, first quarter, out of the shotgun. Parrish is in as the 4th down lineman for Kansas City. Morton with plenty of time. He fires one long. He wants Riley Odom, but it's broken up. Double coverage. Whitney Paul from his linebacker spot came over and assisted on the play.
Morton now 3 of 6 for 51 yards. And short and deep. Whitney Paul was a defensive end when he first came to professional football. He's another of the new breed of linebackers, I believe, Bob. Outstanding speed, along with Thomas Howard, who is not playing now. I wouldn't put that guy in a foot race with any running back and expect the running back to automatically win.
Deron Cherry, number 20, who was in as an extra defensive back on the play, was also there on the coverage against Odom. So now, once again, Prestige will aim for the coffin corner with 2:14 to play in the first. Smith is back deep. A line drive by Prestige. No, he did the job.
Great kick.
Hits it out at about the 2-yard line.
And there's 2:08 left to go in the first quarter. 29 yards on the kick. And, of course, when they change ends, obviously, no more advantage for the win.
A near-capacity crowd, better than 70,000 at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. And the Chiefs with the 7-0 lead, but some awful field position at their own 2-yard line after the coffin corner kick by Preston. Kenney hands the ball to Billy Jackson, who scored the touchdown earlier, and Jackson wedges them out maybe another yard. They're going with a double tight end here. Dixon and Scott both in, just trying to get a little bit of breathing room. Tom Jackson
on the blitz, 57. One of the smallest linebackers there is in the game. He managed to stick his nose in there and disrupt things. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Kansas City put it up right here.
It was Jackson, number 57, along with Aaron Kyle, who combined to stop Billy Sims on a 4th down sweep and cut off a late Detroit drive that preserved the Denver victory a week ago. Joe Delaney is back in the ballgame now. 2nd down and 9 from the 3-yard line. 1.5 minutes to play in the first quarter. They pitch it back into the end zone for Delaney, who fumbles the ball, and it goes out of bounds and will still belong to Kansas City. Delaney has lost 3 fumbles this year and almost had a disastrous 4th.
That bounced right off his thigh board. He is wearing those thigh boards that were first made famous by Earl Campbell. Huge thigh boards. Now watch this. He has good control of it, but it appears when he makes the move, it just bounces right off his thigh. Just slips out from underneath that cast or wrapping that he has on his arm. And boy, is Kansas City lucky.
Got out of bounds before Aaron Kyle could finish his desperation dive toward it. More of a crawl, actually, than a dive.
Well, I wouldn't want to be in Kansas City's shoes right now. 3rd down and 8 or 9 obvious passing situation, and they run it.
Well, not so obvious. Now an obvious punting situation from out of the end zone.
I'll give you that. Kansas City for years has been accused of being boring in their offensive approach. Of course, last week in winning, that boring offense turned into something very exciting.
They had 254 yards against Oakland a week ago, and Kenney passed for better than 200.
With Delaney running it, they're going to give him as many opportunities as possible to break one.
Inside 50 seconds to play, and now Grupp to kick. The wind is in his favor here.
Manning is standing 60 yards deep, Bob.
Standing at his own 42. Grupp with another low kick. If Manning can play it cleanly on the bounce, he can return it, but it bounces out of bounds. It's in Kansas City territory. They'll spot it at the Chiefs' 46. 32 seconds to play. First quarter. Chiefs still with the 7-0 lead. Seating announcement was furnished as a public service by Broncos center Bill Bryan and the National Football League.
Denver Broncos offensive MVP in 1980.
Bob Grupp's last punt was good for 41 yards with the roll. No return by Manning, who let it
fumble.
Bounce. They fumble the snap. It's kicked backward. Look out. This could go for 6. It's picked up by Whitney Paul, and nobody is going to catch it. Touchdown, Kansas City.
The fumble recovery. Morton does not handle it cleanly, and boy, is this reminiscent of exactly the way this Kansas City Chiefs season started. They picked up a fumble against the Pittsburgh Steelers with absolutely no chance to win, and in fact did. My goodness gracious. That's why
it was Thomas Howard on that occasion, the opening week of the year at Pittsburgh. This time it's Whitney Paul, and the thing that really does Morton in here is that the ball inadvertently hits the foot of right guard Paul Howard, number 60, and Whitney Paul is able to pick it up and go unmolested into the end zone at the other end.
It appeared that it was a trap play, and Morton has to get out of there quickly to get out of the way of the guard, number 60, Paul Howard. And in pulling out, he appeared to have pulled out very quickly, and that's a no-no for any quarterback. Nevertheless, 48 yards on the fumble recovery for a touchdown, and the Chiefs are most definitely in business.
Nick Lowry hitting on the extra point. to make it 14-0 Kansas City with 22 seconds to play in the first quarter. And a disappointed Craig Morton pacing the sidelines.
That's the second touchdown now that the Kansas City Chiefs have scored by their defense. Both by linebackers. Thomas Howard, now Whitney Paul.
Both on fumbles. Plays looked so similar that you couldn't help but be reminded as soon as Paul picked the ball up of that fateful occasion when Terry Bradshaw lost the football the first week of the year in Pittsburgh. And here in Kansas City, they credit that miracle victory with giving them the impetus to become contenders this year and get off to a 4-2 start.
Let's spread it around, though. Thomas Howard made the fumble recovery, but the hit was by Frank Manu Manayuna. To set it properly, they were down by, I believe, 4 points. They had no timeouts left, and Pittsburgh was on the Kansas City 25-yard line, and they won the football game.
Denver was penalized on the point after kick, which is assessed now as Lowry prepares to kick off. So he'll boot it from his 40 rather than his 35. And as further evidence of the existence of the strong wind, the ball blows off the tee, and somebody's going to move over and hold it now. M.L. Carter, number 42, is going to hold it for Lowry.
I don't believe there's any reason for Denver to panic. Just keep their heads in the ball game, not give up or try to go too quickly to the long pass.
Manning driven a couple of yards into the end zone by Lowry's kick and brings it out across the 15, but not to the 20. 18-yard line, and that's all. Curtis Bledsoe, number 30, reserve running back, gets in on the tackle.
Kansas City did it twice last year to the Denver Broncos. That is, beat them. Certainly off to a flying start here today.
Curtis Bledsoe made that tackle is here because, like the Chief defense, whose injury problems we previously discussed, the Chief offense has not been immune either. Running backs McKnight and Mike Williams each have been hurt this year, so they needed Bledsoe for a little bit of depth there. Watson goes in motion. This should be the last play of the first quarter. And it symbolizes the way things have gone for the Broncos in the opening 15 minutes. Whitney Paul making the stop on Dave Preston. And that's it. At the end of one, Kansas City leads it at Arrowhead Stadium by a score of 14-0. It'll be 2nd and 8 for the Broncos after they shift sides, and we come back. Too bad you missed it during the commercial, but when this message was first flashed on the board, 70,000 fans roared their approval.
Sure they did.
There is not much for Dan Reeves to roar his approval about after the first 15 minutes, Trump.
Look at the Chiefs. No yards passing. And Denver coming into this game had allowed the least amount of yards passing of any team in the NFL. An average of something, even though it sounds incredible, like 116 yards a game, which is phenomenal. But field position in that first quarter, and obviously the fumble recovery, I could stick my fingers in both of those cups and be very comfortable. It's a little chilly.
Cleveland, is this a final now? Yeah, it is. The Browns had to come from behind to do this, but they beat the Saints by a score of 20-17 with 4 minutes and 48 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. Mike Pruitt scored the winning touchdown on a 1-yard run for the Browns, who are now 3-4, while New Orleans falls to 1-6. First play of the second quarter with Upchurch in motion, and Morton dropping back to throw. Morton looking and pumping over the middle and hitting his man Riley Odom, who spins away from tacklers and moves to the 38-yard line for the first down. There were 3 red shirts around him, but Morton drilled it for a gain of 17.
Odom's over the years been one of the most trusted receivers that the Denver Broncos have had, and this season he's lost about 15 to 20 pounds to get in shape, figuring that Dan Reeves was going to use him a great deal in their offense, and he is a real armful to bring down.
14:20 to play. Quarter number 2. Odom's and Egloff both in. Double tight end situation. Harrows carries. And stopped on the play by Jerry Blanton, number 57.
Interesting configuration there. 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, and 1 running back. One of the things, there's a final score. The 49ers, second week in a row, they win. 13-3 over Green Bay.
5-2 now, and Green Bay is 2-5. And Atlanta pops the Cardinals 41-20. Cardinals now 2-5 in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken, 4-3 as they snap a 3-game losing streak. Preston carries, tries to turn the corner on the right side, and has the first down for Denver.
Dave Preston on the carry, knocked out of bounds.
And I believe the Denver Broncos now trying to go for ball possession. No reason to hurry. They're only down 14 points, and they got 3 quarters to go. And Dan Reeves calls every single play that the Denver Broncos run an offense. He is totally in charge of the offense. Joe Collier totally in charge of the defense. In fact, when the Denver defense is on the field, he appears to be just somebody who bought a ticket to watch the game. He doesn't have anything to do with it whatsoever.
And in Collier, he has left it in capable hands. Preston with a first down carry into Kansas City territory. A pickup of perhaps 4, depending upon where they spot it. San Diego now leads Baltimore 36-14. They're about midway through the 4th quarter at Baltimore, and the Colts are about to become 1-5, while San Diego will go to 5-2. Chuck Muncie has 2 touchdown runs in that game. Dan Fouts has thrown 2 touchdown passes, as has Burt Jones, to account for both Baltimore scores. 13 minutes to play in the first half. The Chiefs 14 and the Broncos nothing. On 2nd down 7, Morton under the gun, fires one out long for Rick Upchurch. Can he run under it? No, he can't. It was almost intercepted by Gary Barbaro.
You know what's incredible about that pass? Mark Morton had it clearly 4 to 4.5 seconds time to throw the football. Upchurch ran an out pattern and then turned it up the field. The offensive line of the Denver Broncos did an excellent job here in protection. Outstanding, no doubt about it. They've allowed 19 sacks, Morton 18. But for the number of times that Morton is standing back there almost in cement, that's an excellent job. Just slightly overthrown.
Gary Barbaro almost had his 4th interception of the season. Odoms and Jim Wright, number 87, who sets up now on the right side in a double tight end. Rick Carroll's the lone running back. 3rd down 7. Morton out of that pocket, broke it up, and let's see if it was intercepted.
Yes.
Burris comes up with it and evidently did not trap it, took it on the fly, and the Chiefs have the turnover and the football.
Great display of defense here by the Kansas City Chiefs. All that moving around on the offensive set by the Denver Broncos did not fool anyone. And Morton was in the grasp of a Kansas City Chief and a hold of his shoelaces. Excellent interception by Mr. Burris. He has, once again, plenty of time to throw. And there you see he can't really put anything on it. And it's out of his hands, and excellent call, it appears, by the officials. 1st and 10, Kansas City on their own 44-yard line.
Watch again now as Lloyd Burris, one of 3 Chiefs 3rd-round draft picks this year, rookie from Maryland, makes his 3rd interception of the season, and it looks like the official does not have a very good view as to whether or not he trapped it.
I think that ball bounced. I believe he short-hopped that one, and you're right, the official could not see it. Nevertheless, Kansas City possession.
For the Broncos, their 2nd turnover of the day. The first led to a 48-yard touchdown run with a recovered fumble by Whitney Paul. Kenney fires after the play fake, and they return the favor immediately. The interception is made by Randy Gradishar.
That's Gradishar's 2nd interception of the season, and I don't believe Kenney saw him at all. J.T. Thomas came from the wide-out spot, and Gradishar was standing right there to make the interception. One of the things that quarterbacks nowadays in the NFL must do is have great peripheral vision. He is watching J.T. Smith come across the field, and he does not account for that gentleman right there. 53. That was their first pass play that did not result in a penalty, and it was intercepted.
For Gradishar, his 2nd interception of the season, the 10th time that Kenney has had one picked off in 1981. Now Morton on the handoff to Parros, and Parros skips across the 45 for a gain of 3.
Great job by Parros to avoid Mike Bell there. Number 99 of Kansas City.
Here's an interesting figure, Trump. Coming into today's game, the Broncos were +7 on the giveaway takeaway table. Fumbles lost, interceptions lost, as against those taken away. They had turned their 20 takeaways into 41 points. Their opponents had turned the 14 Denver giveaways into just 14 points. But today, as Preston is smothered for a loss. Gary Spaney leading the charge, and Mike Bell there to apply the clincher. Today, the only points as a direct result of the turnover are the 7 the Chiefs got when Paul recovered the fumble and went all the way with it.
All out blitz by the Kansas City Chiefs inside linebackers. Bell and Spaney are there at the same time that Preston gets the football. And in all honesty, they were very lucky to avoid a possible fumble right there, because he was there at the point of the handoff.
Loss of 4, 3rd and 11 upcoming. More on that giveaway takeaway figure. Coming in today, the Chiefs were -2 in that category. Last season, they were second only to Atlanta in the entire league on the plus side of the giveaway takeaway. Today, the Chiefs have 2 takeaways of their own, and Denver has 1 on the Gradishar interception moments ago. Morton in trouble and sacked. Boom. Whitney Paul.
Show you the dominance of the Kansas City Chiefs over the Denver Broncos so far in the first half. The Broncos are now 0 for 5 in 3rd down conversions, and he just stands here too long. You see 61 Perry's try to flush him out of there, but Paul sneaks up on him, obviously, under the linebacker blitz.
That was only the 7th sack of the season for Kansas City. They were tied for the lowest figure in the league with the Bears and the Patriots beginning today's action. Prestige now. J.T. Smith will have a chance to return one, takes it at the 25, sidesteps a tackler. A lane opens up for him. He spins to the 35-yard line, a return of 10 yards. And he's brought down on the play by Jim Ryan. A 40-yard punt, a 10-yard return. The clock shows 10:38 to play second quarter. Chiefs still lead it by 2 touchdowns. A look at a concerned Dan Reeves up in the corner of your screen. His club trails it by a score of 14-0.
But he simply looks like an observer, not a head coach, when the defense is on the field.
Delaney carries, and he's collared almost immediately by Bill Thompson, who came up from his strong safety spot, number 36. Well, the Oakland Raiders have scored in the second quarter. They've got a Chris Barr field goal of 51 yards. They've got a block kick that resulted in a safety, and they've got a Derek Jensen touchdown run of 12 yards to lead 12-0 in the second quarter over Tampa Bay.
They did score in the first quarter, so they did go 12 quarters without scoring any points. That's the defending world champions. Hey, listen, you folks in Denver, you're not missing a baseball game at all. Game 5 of the National League pennant, delayed by rain in Montreal or snow.
Or both. And delayed at the start. They have not begun yet. It wasn't stopped in the middle. Second down 9 from the 36. Kenney gets it away under a heavy rush and incomplete as it bounces in the direction of tight end Al Dixon. Dixon, one of 4 tight ends kept on the roster by Marv Levy this year. He said he was surprised to even make the team, but he's been the starter since opening day.
Rulon Jones, 75 of Denver, on the pressure. And I believe now the Denver defense has realized that they're going to have to help that offense as best they possibly can today. And the Denver offense is 0 for 5 in 3rd down conversions. And this is a veteran defense, a defense that can control a football game.
Henry Marshall in the slot on the left side. J.T. Smith wide to the left. Stan Rome, number 87, comes in as a 3rd wide receiver with Dixon, the tight end, out. And on 3rd and 9, they swing it out to J.T. Smith. And Smith has the first down at the 45-yard line.
Interesting pattern he ran too, Bob. It was a delay. He went down the field, started to come in, and then turned around and went back out on Aaron Kyle. I think they expected J.T. Smith to come across the middle, and he delayed and went back out. 1st and 10.
There's Marv Levy, an assistant in the NFL at Washington, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles. He actually coached and recruited Craig Morton in the college ranks in the mid-60s at California. Also coached collegiately at New Mexico and William & Mary. Delaney takes the pitch on 1st down.
Look at that speed.
Turns what could have been a loss into a 4-yard gain.
Outran the pursuit of the Denver Broncos. You mentioned Marv Levy. I believe he is, in the history of the NFL, the only Phi Beta Kappa coach to ever walk an NFL sideline.
Delaney, as you could see, was 3rd in the AFC coming into today's activity, 10th overall in the National Football League. Guys in the NFC like Sims, Dorsett, Rodgers, Andrews, and Atlanta all ranked ahead of him. He was 3rd in his conference, 10th in the league, 2nd and 6th with 9:06 to play in the quarter.
Reverse.
Delaney on the reverse, gives it to Henry Marshall. Let's see if Kenney throws a block in front of him. He does. And Marshall may go down the sideline, one man to beat. passes ruled out of bounds. You're right, at the 17-yard line. Larry Evans didn't tackle him, but did knock him off course enough to force him out of bounds, and Kenney's block was what made the play.
An outstanding block, 33 yards. And I swear to you, I thought that the Denver defense had it well diagnosed and was there to make the tackle. But that block by Kenney, number 9, sprung Henry Marshall. Last year against Denver, he was a one-man wrecking crew. He had 6 catches for over 100 yards. Now watch the block by number 9. He does an excellent job here. Look at that. Puts Louis Wright on the ground, takes out the linebacker behind him, and Henry Marshall with great speed down the sideline. Evans just manages to get him out of bounds.
And now on first down, Delaney carries and is smacked hard. Joe Delaney carried 28 times last week against Oakland. He is not the kind of guy, with his size, 5'10" and 184, you want to have carried 28 times every week. He is more a 15 carry and maybe 10 pass a game sort of guy.
But you know, Bob, before the ball game, I talked to him. I said, you mind carrying the ball 28 times? He says, no, I averaged 28 carries a ball game when I was at Northwest Louisiana. Don't mind it at all. In fact, I carried it 40 times in one football game at Northwest. You realize that Kansas City is up 14-0 and they've completed a grand total of 1 pass.
Ball just across the 14-yard line on 2nd and 6 with 8:14 left. Delaney takes the pitch and Delaney moves inside the 10-yard line.
Fumble.
Denver's got the fumble.
Yes, sir. His second fumble of the day, and this time he was not so lucky. Delaney's still down on the ground. Appears to have banged up his knee somewhat.
Reuben Carter is credited with the fumble recovery. So the Broncos on the verge of going down 21-0 take the ball back at their own 8-yard line. Each team has given it up now twice.
Here's Delaney on the carry. He has the ball on the inside. He is hit decently there by Foley, and the ball is loose. And Reuben Carter, I believe, is the only one who sees it. And Denver, as I said, their defense must come up large here now, down 14-0, and a turnover is exactly what they needed. Now it's Fred Morton's chance.
From the 8 with 8:08 remaining in the second quarter, and the Chiefs in front 14-0. Rick Parros slides through a very slender hole and picks up 3, maybe 4, as we pause briefly for station identification on the NBC television network.
This is KOA TV, Channel 4 in Denver.
This telecast is presented by authority of the NFL and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL is prohibited. Second down 6. They pitch it back to Parros. Rick Parros trying to turn the corner. Shedding a tackler as he goes and getting to, let's see where those spotted, about the 16-yard line. So that will leave them with 3rd down and 2.
One of the big changes, I believe, in the Denver offense so far this year has been the constant use of Parros and Preston. In the previous 3 or 4 years under Red Miller, they had 6 or 7 running backs that they ran in and out of there. And I believe it gives the offensive line a little more familiarity with that running back, and it gives those running backs a chance. If you're a good one on the 15th carry, I believe you're better than the 1st or 2nd. Denver 0 for 5 when it comes to 3rd down conversions.
Parros joined now in the backfield by Tony Reed on 3rd down and 2. Church is to the left. Watson is to the right. Morton pumps it over the middle.
Fumble.
It's caught and then fumbled. Here's another turnover. Eric Harris has it. Harris still on his feet and brought down at the 15. Odom's caught it. Lloyd Burris hit him. The ball came free. Eric Harris picks it up, and the Chiefs are back in business.
Bob, I must tell you, I believe it's a lack of concentration on Denver's part. That's 2 fumbles. There's no way they should have been fumbled. He's the hot receiver, Raleigh Odoms is. And that hit is decent, but I don't believe that should jar the ball loose. And Eric Harris, get up, son, get up, you can run. Someone reminds him. And he does pick up another 10 or so yards.
Now on first down from the 15 of Denver. They give the ball a
fumble.
And have not fumbles. Who's got it? Still loose. Denver has it.
Follow the bouncing ball.
And now Billy Thompson gets into it with J.T. Smith. That's the third time the tempers have flared in this first half.
That's amazing. This is not a bad weather day. And the sun is shining. Third fumble by Kansas City. And they've lost 2 of them.
They've also had an interception.
And they've also taken a fumble back for a touchdown, 48 yards by Whitney Paul. That's why they put points on that football. Those being round, bounce is fun.
Each club has 3 turnovers, 2 fumbles, and an interception for each.
There you have it. It may be the importance of this football game, Bob.
That figure on the screen is wrong. The Broncos have 3 turnovers, and the Chiefs also have 3. 6:28 to play in the half. Harris built it after a gain of a couple at most. Well, up in Montreal, evidently they got to a point where they were beginning to squeegee the tarpaulin and think about taking it off, but then it started raining again, and the tarp is being put back on, and they have yet to throw the first pitch between the Dodgers and the Expos, which is good news for baseball fans in our viewing audience, because in all likelihood, unless this game goes to overtime, you'll see some baseball when the football is finished today.
Bad news for Bowie Kuhn, and there isn't a person in the world that deserves it more.
Send your letters to Bob Trumpy, Trumpy, NBC Sports, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York. 5:45 left in the quarter.
And to Bowie Kuhn.
Harris on the receiving end of the swing pass. Jerry Blanton first to tackle it.
This is a good play by Rick Barrows. This is a very, very difficult catch, and a difficult throw, too, by Morton. It's a little swing pass out of the backfield. This is a tough kid out of Utah State. Last year had knee surgery. He's come back very well.
3rd down and 1. The ball at the 13-yard line. Clock moving. Down toward 5 minutes to play in the half. Close-up shot of Craig Morton, 38 years of age in his 17th NFL season. They give it to Preston. He's got a battle. There's an all-important spot coming up here. He's very close to it.
I believe, Bob, they're going to give it to him.
And they do.
I believe that's Denver's first 3rd down conversion to a 1st down so far in this football game, which is very, very unusual. Coming into the ball game, they hadn't been too bad at that at all.
San Diego continues to put it on Baltimore, 43-14. What woes from Mike McCormick's club. Latest touchdown, Dan Fouts to Clarence Williams for 7 yards. For Fouts, his 3rd scoring pass of the day. And Oakland maintains that 12-0 lead over Tampa Bay, which we told you about earlier. Morton with the play fake and a 1st down pass, which is dropped by Rick Upchurch. Gary Green on the coverage.
Overthrown somewhat by Craig Morton. He is not having a good day. Came into the game as the NFL's leading passer. He is now 7 of 13 for 84 yards. He had completed 66% of his passes coming into this ball game, too.
He's going to throw much more than his average number of passes per game if things continue as they are right now. He's averaging only 22 passes per game. And completing, as Bob Trumpy said, nearly 66% of them. He had that remarkable 17 of 18 game against San Diego earlier this year. Morton on 2nd down is sacked. Ken Kramer blows in there, the 3rd-year man from Ball State, number 91.
Out of the nose, too. Rather unusual that a nose man gets that many sacks. That's the 2nd of the day. You see it on Bill Bryant. Just throws him out of the way. Morton knew it was coming.
The Chiefs have not exactly been a sack pack this year. Just a half dozen sacks through 6 games. Coming in today, they've got 2 in this first half.
Most important stat is, though, they are 4-2. With or without the sacks, right, Robert?
And the Broncos 5-1, leading them by a game. If the Chiefs win it, we're going to have a 3-way tie for first place in the AFC West. They try and cross them up and give it to Tony Reed on 3rd and 18, and they're not fooled at all. Reed is brought down by Charles Jackson, number 51.
Credit to 91 Bremer again. He took on Paul Howard, number 60 of the Denver Broncos. Just took out an interferer. And Burris had nobody to fight to get to the ball carrier. Wow. what a play.
And now Prestige, who's had a very busy first half, kicks out of the back of his own end zone. A high end-over-end kick, which drives Smith all the way back to his own 40-yard line. Prestige did a heck of a job. And J.T. Smith does not get to midfield with coverage by the Denver special teams. A 51-yard kick and an 8-yard return by Smith. We've got 2:51 to play in the first half. Kansas City maintains the 14-0 lead.
A tip of the cap to our producer, Terry Ewert. Watch 91 Kremer. Watch what he does to number 60, Paul Howard. Kaboom! Knocks down the personal interferer for Carlos, or I should say Reed. There's nobody left. And Burris and Jackson are there to make the tackle. Great play, Kansas City defense.
Would you believe these figures on Bill Kenney? He's 1 of 3 for 8 yards, and he's had 1 intercepted, but his team leads 14-0. Now he's 1 of 4. Henry Marshall was the target. Aaron Kyle on the coverage.
Excellent coverage, too, I might add. Was able to make up an awful lot of ground there.
When Kenney made his NFL debut last December as a starting quarterback against the Broncos here in Kansas City, to give you an idea of how unknown he was, they had his name spelled incorrectly on the back of his uniform.
The ultimate insult, right? Well, they certainly have it spelled correctly now. You would say with those stats, they're probably behind 14-0. Wrong again.
Greg Boyd comes in as a 4th defensive lineman, joining Chavis, Carter, and Rulon Jones in a passing situation, 2nd and 10. 2:45 to play in the half. Kenney firing, and again a near interception. Marshall was the target, and Kyle had the coverage.
5 for 8 yards, but they run it. 2:41 left in the first half. Kansas City leading 14-0.
The Chiefs took the ball on their first possession following a Denver punt. As we watch it again and watch Aaron Kyle move in to break it up. Kyle is number 22, slaps it away.
From behind Henry Marshall, I think he might have been able to make the reception had the ball been on target.
Kansas City drove with ease for a touchdown the first time they had the ball. Later they got a fumble recovery and a touchdown run with it by Whitney Paul, and they lead 14-0. Kenney's pass seemed to be hit near the line of scrimmage and dropped harmlessly to the turf. So it's 3 downs and out for the Chiefs, and they'll have to punt.
And the best way to characterize this game so far is very, very sloppy on both sides. The Denver Broncos have not played well. That's Bryson Manor, number 66, I believe, with his hand up. Denver coming in as the #1 defense in the NFL. Not really done very much so far today.
Grupp to kick with Manning as the deep man. There's Bob Grupp, number 1, and now Manning, 83. Manning takes the low boot on the run at the 20. Manning across the 30-yard line. A flag goes down, and Manning struggles out near the 40. So depending upon what the penalty is here, the Chiefs don't look like they'll get much of a net out of it, but it could be a clip against the Broncos. 42-yard kick, 17-yard return, but Dick Jorgensen's going to pace something off here against Denver.
The illegal use of the hands, probably a push in the back, which seems to be very, very prevalent this year in professional football.
Illegal block above the waist, number 35, receiving team, first down.
Next Sunday, join host Bryant Gumbel for NFL 81, all the highlights, scores, and late-breaking news from all the games, and then an NFL doubleheader on NBC, featuring a clash between the Broncos and the Bills, who were upset today by the Jets in New York, and also a rematch of Super Bowl VI as the Dolphins meet the Cowboys. Check your local listings for the games in your area next Sunday on NFL 81. The Broncos trying to tack something on the board in the last 2:27, but Morton is sacked for the 3rd time.
And again from the nose. Rather unusual in the 34 defense that the nose man comes up with sacks. You'll watch it from right behind Parrish. It's by Bryan, and he's there. Well, for an offensive line who really have protected Craig Morton very well, this has not been one of their best performances so far today.
The only time, really, the Broncos have threatened was after Rick Upchurch made a fine catch on a long pass in the first quarter from Morton. Aside from that, most of the period has been played in Denver territory. and we have reached the 2-minute warning. In truth, the Chiefs, with the 14-0 lead, could be even further ahead. They have been around the 15-yard line of Denver twice and turned it over each time since establishing the 14-0 lead.
To help you buy a new...
Blue skies over Arrowhead Stadium, more than 70,000 watching. They're pleased that their club is ahead 14-0. But 2 of those 3 Chiefs turnovers have aborted drives deep in Bronco territory, so it could be much worse as far as the Broncos are concerned. Morton is 6 of 12 for 84 yards, had 1 intercepted so far in the first half. Back to the air on second down. Riley Odom makes the catch and is brought down at the 20-yard line.
He's 3rd down and 9 now.
Clock moving with 1:40 to play in the half. In a situation similar to this, late in the first half against Detroit a week ago, Morton tried to waste one to the sideline, trying to throw it out of bounds, and Alvin Hall stepped in and intercepted it and ran 60 yards for a giveaway touchdown.
And Morton later admitted it was a dumb mistake on his part. Shotgun.
3rd down 9. Morton, who has been sacked 3 times, heaves it over the middle.
Great catch.
I can't believe he held that. Rick Upchurch held that in between 2 defenders. Gary Barbaro gave him a wicked hit, but he still held on.
20 yards on the pass and catch. And this is the first game that Upchurch has played in 1981. 5'10", 176, and obviously made of steel. That is a great hit. I wonder if they'll call pass interference or going to the head, probably an elbow to the head. Pass interference on 44.
Eric Harris. For Upchurch, Trump, it's not his first game of the year, but he did miss 3 full games with injuries and parts of others.
Yeah, excuse me, you're right. But this is the first game he's been healthy for the 81 season and able to contribute, right?
I'll buy that one. Upchurch wide to the left, and Watson is wide to the right. Watson has caught 7 touchdown passes this year. A flag flies. Morton with plenty of time, and it's off the hands of Watson and incomplete as he was hit by Gary Green. Now let's see what the penalty will be. It stops the clock with 1:08 left.
2 flags on the field. Well, we came into this game expecting Mr. Watson to have an awful big part in what the Denver Broncos were going to do. He has just 2 catches for 20 yards. Offside, then holding them.
You know, Watson has caught 7 touchdown passes this year, Trump. All 7 have been at Mile High Stadium. He has had 3 games of better than 100 yards in receptions. All 3 of those games have been at Mile High Stadium. So evidently, he likes the home cooking.
Yeah, you know what else is really amazing? He's had a touchdown catch of 93 yards and one of 95 yards. Here's the call.
Encroachment, number 80. Offense, decline. Holding, number 70. Offense, accepted. First down.
They've stuttered on the penalty. Rick Upchurch on the offsides, but it's so unusual, I think, nowadays to have a 95-yard touchdown, mainly because of the total zone that so many defenses use.
Let alone a 93 and a 95 in the first 6 games of the same season. He's averaging 24.1 yards a catch, and the book on Watson does not have him with that kind of speed and is that kind of a deep threat.
Well, today he's averaging 5 yards a catch. He has 2 for 10 yards.
1st and 20. Morton backpedaling. Gets it out to Preston. He's got a committee in front of him to throw some blocks. He is very close to the first down. Tripped up just shy of the marker. Let's see where they'll spot it.
Denver takes the timeout. Now 2 left with 58 seconds, 18 yards on the pass and catch, and that was well set up. You'll see the defense here. They're thinking they're protecting only the yardage behind him. That's why a pass like this is so very, very good to call. Excellent job by the Denver offensive line, and then just good running by Preston to get to the 48-yard line. 2 timeouts remaining for Denver, I do believe, Bob.
With 58 ticks left on the first half clock.
Now, Denver could certainly salvage a very lackluster performance in the first half with any kind of points here in the final 58 seconds. 2 great friends right there, Bob. Dan Reeves was in Craig Morton's wedding. They played at Dallas together for some seasons. Dan Reeves insisted his football team run sprints, gassers, 880s after practice. Craig Morton rides a bicycle.
It's the fact that he's in the league at age 38. I think you mentioned earlier he is a year older than his head coach, who is the NFL's youngest head coach, and just a year younger than Ed Kaiser, who is the team's principal owner.
Interesting. played my first college football game against Craig Morton, as long as we've got time here to talk about it. Back in 1964 at the University of California, I was playing for the University of Illinois on a great football team with the likes of Dick Butkus and Jim Grabowski. And Craig Morton was basically the only player that the Cal Bears had.
Marv Levy was their coach, correct?
He most certainly was. And it was my first chance to see California. Boy, was I impressed. 2nd down and 1. Morton swings it out to Tony Reed, the former Chief, and Reed has the first down and then some, gets some blocks, and is inside the Kansas City 40 in the grasp of Charles Jackson, number 51. Clock running inside 45 seconds now. 12 yards on the pass and catch by Tony Reed. No huddle, going with the shotgun.
Couple of backs stay in as blockers from Morton over the middle to the tight end Odoms. Lloyd Burris hits him. The last time that happened, Burris jarred the ball loose and Odoms coughed it up. It was recovered by Harris on that occasion. This time Odoms is able to hold it.
I want to go back to a point that I was trying to make in the last series here. That everybody that watches the NFL says, what is with this nickel defense in the last 2 minutes of a half? Why can you gain so many yards in the last 2 minutes of a half? It is very simple. In the first 28 minutes of a half, if the defense is on the field, you are protecting all parts of the field, both in front of you and behind you. In the last 2 minutes of a half for a football game, the only part of the football field that you're protecting is the yardage behind you. That is towards your goal line. You'll give them anything in front as long as you have a man deeper than the receiver to make the tackle. You don't care if they get 20 receptions or 98 yards. It's that last 2 yards that you're still trying to protect.
Some people ask the question, seriously, not facetiously, why go with the prevent at all? Very often teams who have held their opponents in check with their normal defense go into the prevent, and all of a sudden huge chunks of yardage are given up, and eventually, little by little, they find their way into the end zone against a team they couldn't move on previously.
Basically, the main reason is in a normal defensive configuration, you will have a man assigned to a man on the offensive side. What you want in the final 2 minutes of a half for a football game is as many people standing back there as a last line of defense as possible. I repeat, if you're on offense, you don't scramble for yards, you save seconds. And on defense, you try to keep them inbounds and in front of you.
31 seconds left, and the ball is at the 31. Kansas City leads at 14-0. Closing moments of the first half. Egloff, number 85, in motion. Morton, look out. Hit from behind as he pumps one for the end zone. And broken up. Lloyd Burris was there on the coverage. Watson, 81, was the target.
I think Kansas City and that defense had 7 guys back in coverage.
Kansas City has had to make some changes in their defensive backfield. Not with the starters, but with some of the reserve people. M.L. Carter, number 42, and Deron Cherry, number 20, now play an important role for Marv Levy. Paul Dombrowski, who had been a very significant secondary reserve, is out and on injured reserve.
Denver now with 3 tight ends in the ballgame to pick up this first down. Morton, 11 of 18 for 150 yards and 1 interception.
3rd and 2 from the 31. They keep it on the ground. Rick Parros has the first down. Let's see if the fumble came after the whistle. Almost simultaneously, and they give the ball to Denver. Frank Case, number 95, came out of there with the ball, but they deny him the recovery.
No huddle. 17 seconds left now in the first half.
And count it. Evidently, they'll save the timeout to try and get the field goal team on the field over the head of Egloff, and that stops the clock. What's Marv Levy's beef, Trump?
I don't believe the officials were ready, and that's what he was complaining about. And I do also think that easy, Marv, easy. You're ahead 14-0. There's no set is what he's saying. That the officials weren't ready. They should have stopped the clock.
No, that was the field goal.
Denver, one more try at it.
With 10 seconds to play from the 26-yard line of Kansas City. Pass caught by Upchurch. The clock shows 3 seconds, and the ball is at the 20-yard line.
Boy, he is absolutely incensed.
Well, now Fred Steinfurt will come on, and Steinfurt is 5 of 13 for the season. He missed 5 of 6 in the opener. A 9-7 win against Oakland. Levy continues to plead his case.
I may be wrong in this, but what I think Marv is arguing with is that Denver should have been charged a timeout when they were not ready, or there should have been a penalty or something like that. He's saying that Denver was not ready to snap the ball, and the officials let them go ahead and run the play. And the play resulted in a first down, and another play, pass reception by Rick Upchurch, and are now 12 yards closer.
Steinfurt, who is 5 of 13 for the year, has already missed as many this season as he missed all of last year when he was 26 of 34 and kicked 5 field goals of 50 yards or better. This year, he's 3 of 5 between 20 and 29, 2 of 5 between 30 and 39, 0 for 1 beyond the 40, 0 for 2 beyond 50. This one will be a 37-yarder.
Well, they can certainly get the plaudits of his teammates if he puts it through here.
Prestige will hold. Steinfurt gets it away. It was touched at the line of scrimmage. Somebody got a piece of it at the line of scrimmage. It might have been Roger Taylor, number 76.
But Bob, that was a very, very poor kick. No trajectory, no height on it whatsoever. At the end of the first half. That was a very poor kick on Steinfurt's part.
So you're saying it was deflected primarily because of the way Steinfurt kicked. He wasn't victimized by poor blocking.
No,
he kicked it too low.
No, I do not believe so.
So Steinfurt's numbers are 5 of 14 for the season. And Denver trails it at halftime 14-0. Levy's got the lead, but he's still arguing his case. Opening the Gerald R. Ford Museum will air October 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. Okay, 14-0 is the halftime score. Bob Costas, along with Bob Trumpy at Arrowhead Stadium here in Kansas City. And let's take a look at a play which pretty much sums up Denver's woes in this first half.
You'll see is Craig Morton on the snap from center. Watch 60, Paul Howard pull out. Morton never does really get control of the football. I think he's got to get out of there quickly because it's a trap. Howard's going across to block the other defensive tackle. Whitney Paul picks it up, and it's all over but the shouting. 48 yards. This is very indicative of the first half. 6 turnovers for both teams, 3 on each side. Very, very sloppy. But Denver's got to feel very lucky right now for the problems they've had offensively. They're still only down 14 points. I'm sure Dan Reeves says, wait a minute, we get the ball first. No, Kansas City gets the ball first in the second half. Let's just be conservative. No reason to panic. Go out there and play our type of offense and defense, and we'll win the football game. And I believe that's probably true.
Bill Kenney is a guy who did not have very much success during the first half for Kansas City. His club leads 14-0 in spite of his relative ineffectiveness. Earlier today, Bob Trumpy visited with Bill Kenney, the quarterback from Northern Colorado, who was taken over from Steve Fuller as the chief starter. And here's that interview between Kenney and Bob Trumpy.
At quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs today, a guy who went to Northern Colorado in college. Is there any added incentive to show those folks in Greeley that you can, in fact, play football, Bill?
Well, I've lived in Greeley in the off-season for the last 3 years. I've been there since '76 off and on. Denver's about 45 miles down the road, so it's nice. I worked there, like I said, during the off-season, and it's always that little extra to go out and beat the Broncos.
And your first start in the NFL came last year, December 7th, in Denver against the same Denver Broncos. Had to be a thrill.
It was here at Arrowhead.
Excuse me.
That's right. It was here at Arrowhead. It was a great game. We came in at halftime 28-0. I threw a couple touchdown passes the first half. It fulfilled all my wildest expectations and dreams, and I hope we can do the same thing to him today.
You're another one of those guys that we find more and more in the NFL where somebody gets injured, the backup comes on, and then who was the starter to begin with? You have really taken the job away from Steve Fuller.
Well, Steve had that unfortunate incident last year. Before I did get my first start, he hurt his knee, had to have arthroscopic surgery, and this year he had the same thing in the preseason. So it's been one of those things where I've stepped in, he's healthy, and we're winning, we're playing well. Our offense is moving the ball better than they have in many, many years. And it's one of those things why make a change right now. So it's good for me, and it's good for the Chiefs right now.
Bill Kenney, quarterback, Kansas City Chiefs.
And NFL 81 halftime activities will continue in a moment. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Second half kickoff in Kansas City. Fred Steinfurt getting ready to boot for the Broncos, who trail the Chiefs 14-0. James Murphy is the deep man in the 3 set. They'll bring it out of the end zone. Murphy across the 15 and not to the 20. Stopped at about the 18-yard line. Let's take a look at the halftime statistics, Bob Trumpy.
Well, as I said during the halftime, rather amazing. Look at the total yards there for the Chiefs, 108 yards, and yet they lead 14-0. Time of possession totally in favor of the Broncos, with 3 turnovers each, and of course the 1 fumble recovery by Whitney Paul, running 48 yards for 7 points on the scoreboard. Denver is still in this ball game.
Bill Kenney, prior to today, had completed 55% of his passes, 5 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He's had 1 picked off today. And as you saw, completed just 1 first-half pass. Delayed handoff to Joe Delaney, and Delaney gets about 7 on the carry, out to the 25-yard line. Larry Evans, one of the inside linebackers, made the stop. Brad Buddy threw a good block. More
importantly, he hung onto the football. Delaney down and hurting on the 25-yard line. Hopefully not too serious.
Delaney with Ted McKnight, suffering a variety of injuries, the most serious a knee injury which required surgery and landed him on the injured reserve list earlier this week. Delaney has been seeing a whole lot of action.
Interesting play. I think he probably just got the wind knocked out of him. Hopefully landed right on the ball, and he did hang on to it. It was a good 7 or 8 yard pickup there by Delaney.
As we mentioned, he carried 28 times last week against Oakland for 106 yards. The week before, he went for 101 against New England. He also caught 3 passes for 104 yards against the Raiders, a 61-yard gallop included in that total.
And Marv Levy said during the week he didn't want to give Joe Delaney the ball that much. He's up and appears to have caught his breath, but in the first half he carried the ball 14 times, Bob, and with this carry now 15 times. I believe he's all right.
Better than 70,000 were their approval for him here at Arrowhead. The offense the same as at the start of the ball game, but Delaney is now going out for a 1-play breather. Evidently, Marshall, Smith, and Dixon are the targets for Kenney, and he has misfired more often than not so far. And there's the offensive line once again. Stan Rome has come in now as a 3rd wide receiver, number 87. Carrying the ball is Hadnot, and Hadnot is very close to the first down for Kansas City. Bronco defense as we start the second half. Chavis, Carter, and Rulon Jones up front. Swenson, Evans, Gradishar, and Jackson are the linebackers. Gradishar had a first half interception. Wright and Kyle the corners. Foley and Thompson the safeties.
Hadnot now 5 carries, 36 yards for the Chiefs, and he's done an excellent job in giving the Denver Broncos someone else to look at in that offensive backfield of the Chiefs besides Delaney. Going to be 3rd and the width
less
of your
than
hand.
A foot.
Yes.
By the way, it has still not stopped raining in Montreal. They say they will wait a half hour more to try and get that game underway. If not, they'll postpone it until tomorrow. But the forecast for tomorrow in Montreal is snow.
Kansas City 2 of 5 in 3rd down conversions. It's un-American to play baseball in Canada.
Who was it that said they wanted to have the Expos and the Astros get into the World Series, or either one of the Expos? What was it? It couldn't be the Expos and Astros in the series.
Right.
Well, it couldn't be. They're both in the National League. That spoils a perfectly good story, which I was just about to tell.
You have 2 teams playing a World Series and neither in the United States.
That was the idea of the story. But since both are in the National League, we have to make up different teams.
Well, how about Montreal and Toronto? That's even more of a joke.
That material needs some work. Delaney has come back in.
Excuse me.
Smith and Marshall, both wide receivers on the right side. Delaney shifts now as the second man in the eye, along with Hadnot, and they pitch it back to Delaney. Hadnot blocking in front of him, and Delaney is slammed down at about the 33-yard line. Bob Swenson and Rulon Jones in on the stop. We've got 13:25 to play in the 3rd quarter, and the Chiefs lead at 14-0, which was the score at the end of the first period. Jackson a 1-yard touchdown run. Whitney Paul a 48-yard romp with a recovered fumble.
Bob, I believe the Denver Bronco defense is now faced with a very, very big series here. They must get the ball back for the offense in decent field position for the offense right now. Sooner the better.
Still trying to figure out exactly what that baseball joke was. Guess it's not worth it. Kenney retreating, throwing, and hitting Hadnot, who in turn is slapped down. Shy of the first down. This is going to be 3rd down and about 2 upcoming. Foley and Gradishar were there to meet him.
Hadnot appeared to be like the 5th receiver in the progression on this one. As Kenney flushed from the pocket somewhat, or it may be by design that he rolls a little bit and then looks back. Dangerous pass to throw when you can't rifle it into somebody because there's a lot of people between Bill Kenney and James Hadnot, but the reception is good. Now 3rd down and 2.
Greg Boyd comes in as a 4th down lineman. They pitch it back to Delaney. He needs 2 yards. You can see where Delaney is, and you can see at the top of the screen where the stick is, and he is short of the 1st down, and they'll have to punt.
Now you see Randy Gradishaw here behind these 4 defensive linemen, anxious. Gets up behind it, doesn't really make the initial hit, but he is part of the tackle along with Tom Jackson and Steve Foley. Great job. That guy's probably, along with Jack Lambert, the 2 best middle linebackers there is in the business. But Kansas City's got a good one too, and Gary Spaney.
Spaney has been Kansas City's leading tackler every year he's been with them, and he leads them this year as well. High spiraling kick by Bob Gruff. Wade Manning running laterally at the 20-yard line and can't turn the corner. Gets out to the 24. A 42-yard kick, a 5-yard return. Stan Rome made the tackle. Chiefs ball, 11:30 to play, 3rd quarter. Kansas City 14, Denver nothing. For the commercial, I inadvertently said Kansas City ball. Obviously, Denver having just received a punt, so the Broncos have it for the first time in this 2nd half, and they trail it by a score of 14-0. Morton with the play fake, a deep drop, and he swings it out to Riley Odoms, his tight end, and Odoms struggles out to the 31-yard line for a gain of 7. It'll be 2nd down and 3. Gary Spaney made the tackle.
We mentioned Gary Spaney, middle linebacker of the Kansas City Chiefs, who, as you said, I believe you were talking about Spaney leading the Chiefs in tacklers every year he's been there. One of the best tacklers that you'll find in the open field, which is rather unusual for a middle linebacker. He's not a cumbersome kid, but he's big up top, but he's got great movement. Makes an awful lot of open field tackles.
10:50 to play, 3rd quarter. Movement along the line, flags fly, and Preston takes the handoff, but the play is stopped.
73, Kelvin Clark now in at left tackle. I wonder if they've moved Stutter to guard, and Howard sitting on the bench, still having problems with his calf. No, Howard's still in there.
Dick Jorgensen paces off 5 against the Broncos.
So Kelvin Clark is replacing Dave Studdard at left offensive tackle for the Denver Broncos. No injury to Paul Howard with that contusion on his calf. There you see him, 73, right next to Mr. Watson, who so far today has not lived up to prior billing. 2 catches, 10 yards.
2nd down and 8 yards to go now. The ball back at the 26 of Denver. Morton sacked for the 4th time. Whitney Paul came in. That's his 2nd sack, and he also has the fumble recovery and touchdown run. So what a game for Whitney Paul.
Excellent defensive scheme of things for the Kansas City Chiefs. Crucial situations. They are blitzing at least 1 linebacker. I think Paul comes in here with very little in his way. It looks like the offensive back is trying to get on him. It's a great sack by Whitney Paul. Good speed, very active.
The 4 sacks for the Chiefs represent 2/3 of their season's total prior to today's game. They had only 6 coming in. Lowest figure in the league, along with New England and Chicago prior to today.
Well, let's state it honestly. Morton is a good target for a sacker.
3rd down and 13 from the 21. They go with the shotgun, and Morton throws over the middle, where the catch is made, but shy of the 1st down by Riley Odoms. And again, Whitney Paul was on the scene for the tackle.
Now that hurts Denver and hurts them badly. In that first series of the 2nd half, they could reestablish what they wanted to do offensively. They had no luck whatsoever there at all. I say Kansas City has now got to feel very, very good about it, and it's going to be extremely difficult for Denver to get back in this ball game.
They got 10 on that last play when they needed 13. And now Luke Prestige will kick. J.T. Smith is the deep man. Last year, Prestige averaged about 44 yards a kick. Coming in today, he was just shy of 41. Smith trying to dance his way out of some trouble, and he's going virtually nowhere down at the 30-yard line. 9 minutes and 22 seconds to play, 3rd quarter. A 44-yard kick by Prestige, a 3-yard return by Smith. Chiefs with the ball and the 14-0 lead. So the Chiefs with the football, which is spotted at their 31-yard line. 14-0 to score. Kenney just 2 of 7. Gradishar had the interception against him in the first half. Net passing yardage just 14. And yet that's also his club's net point total, and they lead 14-0. Al Dixon makes the catch. Dixon, the fifth-year man from Iowa State, the guy who said he was shocked to make the Kansas City roster, and remains their starting tight end despite the fact that they used their #1 draft pick to take Willie Scott, another high choice in the 3rd round to take Marvin Harvey, and they have Ed Beckman, a veteran, in reserve as well.
Once again, something we started the football game with. I repeat, in the 34 defense, if you can beat the nose man, you can beat the defense. I'm very surprised that Kansas City threw the ball at all, although a very high percentage pass. Redney doing a great job on Carter. Pass complete. It's now 2nd down and about 3.5 or 4. I'd expect them to run it down Denver's throat now.
They give it to Hadnot, and Hadnot straight ahead for 3 yards maybe, which will leave them with 3rd down and 1. Bob Swenson and Larry Evans, couple of linebackers, make the tackle. He followed the blocks of Rudney and Condon.
Once again, down in the trenches. You see Condon and Rudney on Reuben Carter, although it looks like Condon will give him 2 points for a takedown. And it's 3rd down in a little bit.
3rd down 1. Greg Boyd comes in. 4th down lineman. Beckman, number 85, set up on the right side for extra blocking. They're stopped. They are stopped. Tom Jackson came through, and he hit Billy Jackson, number 43, the guy who scored the touchdown in the first quarter, the rookie from Alabama, and jammed him up right at the line of scrimmage.
Well, for the majority of this football game, Kansas City's offensive line had controlled the line of scrimmage, but watch this. Rudney 58. That's on Latimer 72, and it's a standoff, and therefore that 34 defensive, or in that time 4-man defensive front, withstood the pressure of the offensive line. 4th down, Kansas City's got a punt.
Jackson was there, Swenson was there, Chavis got in on it. Miami in the 3rd quarter at the Orange Bowl leads Washington 10-3. Andra Franklin, a 1-yard touchdown run to snap a 3-all tie. They've got 5:46 to play 3rd quarter. Redskins giving the Dolphins a tough time. Rupp's kick. Manning comes up to take it at the 24-yard line. Wade Manning. Oh, down he goes at the 25. Bill Kancic barely got a hand on him, and it was enough to trip him up. A 36-yard punt by Bob Grubb, just a 1-yard return by Manning. Broncos with the ball, still looking for some offense. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs, who last week hung yet another shutout on the Oakland Raiders, 3rd consecutive week that Oakland had been shut out, have blanked the Denver Broncos through the first half and the first 7.5 minutes of the 3rd quarter. Rick Parros carries, and Frank Case, number 95, gets credit for the tackle. The figures on Morton thus far: 14 of 22 for 170 yards. He's had 1 picked off. Oakland in the 3rd quarter now ups their lead on Tampa Bay to 15-0. Chris Barr with a 20-yard field goal. And the Giants still lead Seattle 13-0. They're now in the 3rd. Joe Danello has a 54-yard field goal and a 29-yarder in that game. And Phil Simms has a touchdown pass to Jerry Shirk. So the Raiders are on their way evidently to a victory, and they have ended their dubious shutout string at 3 consecutive games by scoring against Tampa Bay. Now Morton pumps up top. Upchurch. He's got it. Can he outrun him to the goal line? Inside the 10 and slammed down at the 7 by Gary Barbaro.
Well, I'll tell you what's amazing about that play. Upchurch is the secondary receiver in that situation. He pumped to the right. Tony Reed, 32, was out there. He faked the out and then went deep. 64 yards on the pass. And you see there are people all over Craig Morton's face. We should not have told everybody that they were dead and gone. This is a big play offense, and Rick Upchurch certainly is a big part of that offense. Dan Reeves now looking a little happier.
234 yards passing unofficially for Craig Morton, and a good portion of that on 2 long heaves to Upchurch. One in the first half, and this one for 64 yards now.
Well, what they must avoid here is what they've done in the first half, and that is turn the ball over.
Each club has been guilty of 3 giveaways. This is Denver's best opportunity by far with 5:55 to play in the 3rd quarter. They give the ball to Dave Preston running right, and they'll get him for a loss of 4. Gary Spaney was there with Lloyd Burris. Burris number 34, Spaney number 59.
How about that? Coming into this season, I believe everybody was of the opinion that the Kansas City defense was an outstanding defense. But you see good lateral pursuit by almost everybody. Burris stands up the offensive guard, Mr. Howard, and makes the tackle. That's 190 pounds on 260 pounds. Sheds him away and drops Mr. Barrows for a 5-yard loss.
2nd and goal, and the ball at the 11. 5:10 remaining. 3rd quarter. Chiefs 14. Broncos nothing. Preston and Parros to the backs. Fake to Preston. Morton with the throw for the end zone. Broken up by Whitney Paul. It was intended for Parros. And Whitney Paul, who, if you had to hand out a defensive game ball today, would walk away with it no trouble, makes yet another outstanding play.
You got it. That's exactly what the Denver offense wanted. Linebacker coverage on a running back. Barrows goes out to the flat and turns up. Whitney Paul with great speed, we've said before, just manages to tip the ball away. Now 3rd down and goal.
They come out of this with only 3. And I don't mean this maliciously, but the way Steinford has been kicking, that's not assured either.
You're right.
But if they come out of this with only 3, Kansas City's got to feel great. 3rd and goal from the 11. Watson in motion, number 81. Now he starts back the other way.
Offsides Kansas City. Free play.
Morton to the end zone. Got Watson. Touchdown. And if this penalty is against Kansas City, then Watson will have recorded his 8th touchdown reception.
I believe it is on Kansas City. Yes, sir. Craig Morton says so. I believe the experience of Craig Morton had a big part in that. 11 yards on the catch and a touchdown. He knew it was a free play. Therefore, he was going to throw it to somebody.
Did Watson going in motion one way, then starting back the other, confuse the Chiefs?
May have, because a lot of times defensive linemen, when they're down in their stance, especially in that situation, are looking for movement on the offensive line. And when Watson turned around and came back out, it may have disrupted him. That's his 8th touchdown catch of the year, his 1st away from Mile High Stadium.
Steinford for the point after, which is good. There's a flag down on this play as well.
What's the flag for?
Well, we'll sort it out when we come back. For now, it's 14-7 KC. Okay, Denver was hit with an encroachment penalty. They moved it back 5, and Steinford hit it just the same on the 2nd try. So it's 14-7, and here is the official extra point. Straight through, and the lead has been cut in half. The Broncos very much alive with 4 minutes and 56 seconds to play in the 3rd quarter. For Morton, that was his 14th touchdown pass of the season. For Watson, his 8th touchdown reception. Now, I believe that Chuck Muncie scored a couple of touchdowns in San Diego's victory over Baltimore, which would give him 9 touchdowns for the year. Watson is the leading touchdown receiver in the entire league. And by my calculations, he is 1 touchdown behind Chuck Muncie for the American Football Conference touchdown lead overall. Billy Sims of Detroit has 8 touchdowns, and they play tomorrow night at home against Chicago. Steinford kicks off, and James Murphy brings it back to the 20. And we pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
This is KOA TV, Channel 4 in Denver.
The 8 touchdown catches so far this year by Steve Watson is the most by a Denver Bronco wide receiver since Haven Moses had 8 in 1973. And of course, we still have 9 games left in the regular season after today, so Watson is really piling up some numbers.
Bill Kenney so far today, 3 of 8, 17 total yards.
Watson's touchdown catch, by the way, was the first touchdown he has scored away from home this year. Hadnot carries, and Hadnot with good first down yardage for Kansas City.
The pressure now on the Kansas City offense to keep the ball for a period of time to try to cool off the Denver offense. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see them run it and run it and then run it some more, and maybe again.
Clock winds down to 4:15. Kansas City's offense has produced just 1 touchdown, and that came on their initial drive. And that 14-7 lead does not look all that good right now. Hadnot got the first down, I think. Let's see where they're going to spot this. He is very, very close. He had to go almost exactly to the 30, and that's just about where he is. The report from Montreal, still raining, game not called off yet, and we weren't joking earlier when we said that tomorrow's forecast includes the possibility of snow in Montreal. Joe Danello has hit his third field goal of the day. This one a mere chip shot for him, a 21-yarder. Had a 54-yarder earlier. Giants increased their lead over Seattle at Seattle, 16-0 with 12:10 to play in the third quarter. The measurement shows that Hadnot got what he needed. Exactly 4 minutes to play third quarter. The Chiefs 14 and the Broncos 7. If Kansas City wins it, we'll repeat again for those of you who are just joining us, there'd be a three-way tie for first place in the AFC West between San Diego, which won today easily at Baltimore, and these Broncos and Chiefs. They'd all be 5-2. Delaney sheds a tackle. Turns it into a 12-yard game when he could have been stopped for a loss. Brad Putty helped him with a good block.
Ran right out of the arms of Larry Evans, who was no turkey. He is a great player and man at himself. A good, quick, stiff arm by Joe Delaney, and he gets the Kansas City Chiefs their 10th first down on offense so far today. Denver also has 10. Boy, that's a big play right there.
Tackled by Steve Owen.
Ball out at the 44-yard line of the Chiefs, Bob.
Delaney now carried the ball 17 times, 53 yards.
Hadnot is called upon this time, and Hadnot bulls his way across the 45 to about the 47 for a gain of 3. 2nd and 7 upcoming.
The factor, too, I believe, in this football game is in about 3 minutes and 15 seconds, Kansas City will get the wind at their back. And then, in a situation where it's 14-7, that ball possession, where you take it over and where you give it up, is so vitally important in this game of football. In the fourth quarter, Denver's going to be going against the wind.
Inside 3 minutes now to play, third quarter. They pitch it back to Hadnot, and Hadnot to midfield and to the 49-yard line of Denver. Flag down on the play. Might have been a late hit. Let's see. Dick Jorgensen is the referee. So players shaken up. Let's see if we can make out who that is for Denver.
Boy, that's a big penalty. Looks like Jackson, 57. I'm not sure, though. Kansas City is running behind Tom Condon, 65, and Charlie Getty, 77.
Jackson, who was called on the late hit, and it appears to be Jackson who is down and hurt afterwards.
They've run this same play now, I believe, in this series of downs several times. And you see Hadnot up there. Watch for 57. There's the late hit.
He's penalized for the late hit, and additionally, he's still down on the field. We'll be right back. So in response to a Denver touchdown, the Chief offense has suddenly come alive. 34-yard line of Denver right now. 2:49 to play third quarter. The Chiefs by a touchdown at 14-7. They give the ball to Joe Delaney, and Delaney fumbles as he's hit. The Broncos have it. Aaron Kyle came up and made the recovery. That's the 5th fumble that Delaney has lost this season. It is the 4th Chief turnover in the ballgame against 3 for the Broncos so far.
It's the 3rd that Joe Delaney has had today. The 2nd he has lost. One went out of bounds. Once again, running towards the right. And he just does not protect the football. 43 Foley hits right on the football. And there you see Gradishar along with who made the recovery?
Aaron Kyle.
Aaron Kyle, 22. Denver now back in the ball game.
The ball is at their 28. A touchdown and a point after away from tying it. Play fake by Morton. Lob out to the right side. Preston makes the catch. Dave Preston, surrounded by Chiefs, led by Gary Staney. He's down at the 35, but they got 7 on first down.
Unofficially, the Kansas City Chiefs have not had a penalty today. There's Joe Delaney on the sideline. He's holding his breath right now that the defense comes up with a big play to give him a chance to get his team back in the ball game here. You sit there and hope and pray that the defense doesn't allow a touchdown.
Look at those numbers.
Wow.
They pitch it back to Tony Reed, and Reed has the first down for Denver and then some. And a flag flies as he's hit.
Tony Reed on the carry.
Perhaps the Chief was a bit overzealous this time. Let's see who they talk to.
I believe it's against Denver.
Well, they do pace it back near the original line of scrimmage before walking it off, and it is against Denver. The reason why I suspected a late hit for Kansas City was that the flag appeared to go down just as the ball carrier did.
Offense, still second down.
Well, Howard, that's Denver's 6th penalty on the afternoon for 65 yards.
So the ball is pushed back to the 28-yard line. Where it's second down and 10 yards to go. A minute 59 to play third quarter.
Nothing.
Don Parrish is all over Rick Parrish. Don Parrish, number 61, made the play.
The nose man of the Kansas City Chiefs doing an excellent job. There's Dan Reeves telling Haven Moses, call this one. And I guarantee you, right now is when Craig Morton wants the coach calling the plays. 53, as we said, a good game plan defensively for the Chiefs, blitzing an awful lot. You see 61 Don Parrish in there, just as the ball is handed off. Rivera.
They go into the shotgun now on third down and 16. Morton fires. The catch is made by Watson. Burris knocks him down, and he's a couple of yards shy of the first down.
You'll watch this from the shotgun. 16 yards on the catch. That's now Watson's 4th reception on the day for 37 yards, but it's not good enough for a first down. Denver on the day has 33 yards total rushing. Kansas City's numbers offensively passing the ball are just as amazing. Yeah, I believe that's right.
We're now in the final 30 seconds of the third quarter. The Chiefs lead it 14-7. They led 14-0 at the end of one. Prestige to punt. A.T. Smith will not fair catch it. He's in all kinds of trouble, and he can't run out of it. He's down at the 30-yard line.
Great job by Rob Lytle. 39 yards on the punt, 4 yards on the return. He was blocked once, kept coming back, and finally made the tackle on J.T. Smith.
Well, Tampa Bay has scored against Oakland. 15-7 is the tally now. Doug Williams to Kevin House, 77 yards for the Bucs' first touchdown of the game. They still have 7.5 minutes to play in the third quarter. It's 15-7 Oakland. And now Washington has tied Miami in the fourth quarter on a 2-yard John Riggins run. They have 13 minutes to play in the game, and it's tied at 10-10. And Miami-Dallas is one of the featured games on a doubleheader weekend next Sunday on NBC. 17 seconds to play in the third quarter. On their own 30-yard line, the Chiefs go back to work on offense. Delaney carry. And Joe Delaney. Flag down. He's going to go all the way, but there is a flag. Louis Wright is chasing him. Doesn't catch him until he's hit the end zone, but let's see what the penalty is.
I believe it's against Kansas City, illegal use of the hands. One thing I want to mention, you've got to admire Marv Levy calling Joe Delaney's number right after he fumbled the ball away. He is not giving up on him. 70 yards on that play or not. I believe that's terrific that Marv Levy says, listen, this guy's going to do us a lot of good. He had 3 fumbles, and 2 of them went to the other team. Give it to him again. Boy, he got a burst of speed, too. When he got turned upfield, holding. I believe it was on James Hadnot, number 48. His blocking back. Wow. He covered that 71 yards in a hurry, didn't he?
Well, the whole play, counting the handoff and counting some time after which he hit the end zone, took just 13 seconds, and he wasn't running straight the whole time.
Let's see if we can watch Hadnot here on 51 Swenson. You see That's one of the misnomers of professional football. At times, when they call holding, you figure he's grabbing hold of a jersey, but it's more the placement of the arms, and it was really Swenson turning around that resulted in the hold on Hadnot.
Last 4 seconds of the quarter. Hadnot carried. Hadnot for about 4 or 5. So it's going to be 2nd down and 15 at the start of the 4th quarter. That's the end of the 3rd period with the score. Kansas City 14 and Denver 7. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
The ultimate irony of this penalty, Hadnot holding on Bob Swenson, Kansas City's first penalty of the day. 70 yards. Called back.
15 minutes of football left in regulation. 2nd down, and let's call it 16 yards to go for the Chiefs. Kenney to the air with all kinds of time. The pass complete to Henry Marshall. And if I'm not mistaken, that's Marshall's first reception of the day. Randy Gradishaw rides him down. Bill Thompson was also there. And this will leave them with 3rd down and 4. They got 12 on the play.
You are correct. That is his first reception of the day. J.T. Smith has 1. Al Dixon, the tight end, has 1. And James Hadnot has 1, and that is the sum total of the passing offense of the Kansas City Chiefs. 20, 25, 29 yards passing the ball today for Kansas City.
They need 4 yards. Kenney has that and more. Marshall's going to go. Marshall for the touchdown. It's 27 Kansas City. Breaking out of that slump with a 65-yard touchdown strike.
Marshall beat Perry Smith, number 45, and I'm sure that those people in Greeley, Colorado, who are friends of Bill Kenney, are happy now, or at least they have mixed emotions. Great reception and an outstanding pass by Bill Kenney. Just enough arch on the ball. Marshall's 2nd catch of the day.
Lowry for the point after. The Broncos are right back in a 14-point hole. 14 minutes and 8 seconds to play in the ballgame at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. The Chiefs 21 and the Broncos 7. A happy Henry Marshall. Well, we're back. We still have 14 minutes to play here at Arrowhead, but things don't look good for the Broncos. Kenney had just 29 yards passing before he hit Marshall for 65.
You know, last year, too, Henry Marshall in a victory against Denver had 6 catches for 110 yards and 1 touchdown, and he has been totally shut down today.
Wade Manning runs it out of the end zone to about the 17-yard line, and then the Chiefs are all over it.
This game is so much a game of emotion.
3 plays, 70 yards in a minute 9, and officially I guess they go with 64 rather than 65 yards for that pass to Marshall. They were denied a 70-yard touchdown run by Delaney and came right back and got the big play to Marshall.
And Delaney is now off the hook. Thanks to Mr. Marshall.
21-7 Kansas City.
Boy, does this game once again prove that in the NFL you win with defense? It's like you drive for show and you putt for dough. You play defense to win in the NFL.
Morton gives the ball to Preston on 1st down. Preston turns the left corner and has 1st down yardage. He's out across the 30-yard line. Got about 13 on the play. Gary Spaney finally stopped him with help from Gary Barbaro. Kenney was 3 of 8 for 29 yards before he hit Marshall. Now he's 4 of 9 for 94.
And a touchdown.
Clock moving, 13:25 to play in the ballgame as we peer into the huddle along with Craig Morton. Watson wide left. Upchurch wide to the right. Morton to Watson for the only touchdown today so far for the Broncos. And he has Watson here for the 1st down.
Once again now, Kansas City is in a situation where they want to protect the yardage behind them. Watch Burris. He's giving an awful big cushion there to Watson. A great catch. Good extension, concentration on the football. That's now his 5th catch on the day for Watson.
Dan Reeves needs a rally. And he needs it in the next 13 minutes and 11 seconds. They got 13 on the last play to the 43-yard line. It's a Rick Harrows. Harrows for a couple and no more than that. Don Parrish belted him almost immediately. Let's check other scores. They're now in the 4th quarter at Oakland, and the Raiders continue to lead Tampa Bay 15-7. They are late in the 3rd quarter at Seattle, and the Seahawks are still scoreless. The Giants lead at 26-0. Rob Carpenter has scored on a 2-yard run. Joe Danello has 4 field goals, 29, 21, 47, and 54.
Bob, one of the things that I believe has helped Denver so far this season is this multiple offense that we've been hearing about. I don't see any multiplicity presently. Seems to be rather conservative.
And as you saw, Miami has gone in front again by a field goal over Washington in the 4th quarter, 13-10 at the Orange Bowl. Reed finds one direction, stuffed up, comes back the other way, and Tony Reed gets into Chief territory at the 49, and this is going to leave them with 3rd down and about 2.
Well, this offense has certainly turned conservative.
Exactly 12 minutes remaining. Limping off is Ken Kramer for Kansas City. Upchurch to the left and Watson to the right. The tight end Riley Odoms is on the right side. Preston and Parros are the running backs behind Morton. They need a couple on 3rd down. Morton has it batted up in the air. It falls incomplete.
Yes, interference. That was obvious.
The flags appeared to come a bit late as far as the Kansas City fans are concerned. Maybe the officials just had trouble groping for them in their pockets, but in any event, it is pass interference and a 1st down for Denver.
That was a good call. 34. Burris was on the back of Riley Odoms, and it's just the 2nd penalty on the Kansas City Chiefs. You see Odoms break inside. 34 now picks up the coverage. Spaney underneath, and there's the bump. Good call by the officials. Kansas City has no gripe.
So the ball now is just across the Chief 38 with 11:41 remaining. Odoms now lines up on the left side as the tight end. Watson, the lone wide receiver. He comes out to the right side. They give it to Preston. Preston has good yardage, and a flag flies as he goes down.
Interesting play. Egloff, 85 of the Denver Broncos. Motion, holding, Denver. That's now their 8th penalty for 85 yards, and that's been their biggest opponent today. Egloff goes in motion into the formation and then traps the nose man of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, it's been a hit-and-miss proposition with Dick Jorgensen's microphone today, and he slaps it trying to get it working. That's the way you get your TV to work. You give it a kick on the side of the refrigerator. So Jorgensen goes with the same approach here with his microphone.
I said, I give you the wrong yardage. It's 9 for 97. It's on 40 Miner, number 71.
And the Chiefs with just that one penalty for 10 yards, which brought back the 70-yard touchdown run by Delaney, but they scored a few plays after that on the 64-yard pass from Kenney to Marshall. Morton, Watson dropped it, and there's another flag down. Eric Harris hit Watson, but Steve really dropped that before Harris arrived.
I believe we're going to have Denver turning upfield too quickly on the motion. Illegal procedure. Denver. And that now makes it 10 penalties for 102 yards. If, in fact, it's accepted. Watch the motion. Upchurch. No, I think it was the right tackle. I take it back. Looked like 71 Claudie Miner came up out of his stance a little quickly. Do you not agree?
I'll go with that. And Marv Levy decides he'd rather have 2nd and 20 than 1st and 25. And that appears to be the wise course of action. 11:33 left. 21-7 Kansas City.
I think so far in this football game, Denver has done as much damage to themselves as Kansas City's done to them.
From the shotgun. Morton hits Watson, and Watson does a dance along the sidelines for additional yardage. They're going to spot the ball at the 31, so they got about 17 on the play, and it'll be 3rd and 3.
And here's a scoop for you, Denver fans. 23 yards on the catch, no flags, so it'll stand. Watson comes from inside the formation. Upchurch tries to help. Good presence to try to get as much as he possibly can. That makes it 3rd down now, about 3.
What'd you give him on the catch? I think he got 17 because the ball was at the 48 and now it's down at the 31.
I apologize. Unofficially 23. Let's make it officially 17.
Okay. 3rd down and a long 3. 11:25 remaining. Morton.
Upchurch.
There he is. Upchurch. 1st down. 22-yard line. Morton paid for his trouble.
You are absolutely right. Upchurch came from the inside of the formation on the left-hand side. Craig Morton's left-hand side came all the way across about 4 or 5 yards deep. All he wanted to do is make sure he made the catch past that 1st down marker. And 10:55 now to go in the 4th quarter.
Let's get our stat man here. How much passing yardage for Morton? What figures do we have on Craig? Try and get that to you as soon as we can.
We've got 21 of 31, 299 yards.
The handoff to Preston.
Whitney Paul.
A yard at most. Whitney Paul led that reception committee as the Chiefs just about held a team meeting on top of Dave Preston.
He has played an exceptional game, Whitney Paul, with a bad knee, I might add, too. Nobody has fooled Whitney Paul all day long. You see 85 Egloff on the block. He sheds him. Not a good job by Egloff at all. Although he may have been expecting Preston to break up underneath him as opposed to go outside. So we can't jump on Mr. Egloff's case too much here.
It bears repeating that this Chief defense, which posted a shutout last week against Oakland, and granted the Raiders had been shut out twice in a row previously, once by Denver, but nonetheless they did shut them out, and which has allowed just 1 touchdown to Denver. This Kansas City defense, as Morton now has to call a timeout and waste one as he sees something he doesn't like. This Kansas City defense has played extremely well in the absence of important players like Thomas Howard, Frank Manamaliuna, Art Still, and Paul Dombrowski. The clock shows 9:59 to play. The Broncos are driving, but they still trail by 14. The largest hunks of Morton's 299 passing yards have gone to Upchurch, 139, Watson, 64, and Riley Odom's 56. 2nd down, 9 yards to go. And Dave Preston is down at the 15-yard line, which will leave them with 3rd down and a short 3.
Good call by Dan Reeves. Kansas City in the timeout went to the sideline. I believe the defensive coaches of Kansas City reminded him of that pass reception that Upchurch had short across the middle for the 1st down. Dan Reeves comes up with the draw.
The offenses have suddenly come alive late in the 3rd quarter and early in the 4th. We could still be heading for a very exciting finish. 9 minutes and 20 seconds left.
Paris.
Morton will throw for it on 3rd and 3. There is Paris, and he has the 1st down. Rick Paris, who last year missed virtually the entire season with knee surgery, is out of Utah State. Had a good game last week against Detroit, running for 77 yards on 20 carries.
For the people in Denver, we've just been informed that if, in fact, the baseball game in Montreal is played tonight, you will watch it on KOA and KOAA. So, for all of you baseball fans, don't panic.
Here's Morton floating one out on the run, and there is absolutely nobody there. Now, the Chiefs and their fans scream for intentional grounding. Morton himself was grounded and is just now picking himself back up after Jerry Blanton gave him a rude how do you do.
Dave Lindstrom was in there, too, pressuring Craig Morton. Never known for his mobility. He's had multiple surgeries, several knee operations, a shoulder problem. Craig Morton is not going to win many foot races.
Well, let's see who's there as we follow this replay.
The tuba player of the Missouri band.
I'll tell you what, that could easily have been called intentional grounding. We'll get back to that in a minute. 2nd down 10. Ball at the 11-yard line. Morton with all kinds of time.
Watson.
Touchdown, Steve Watson.
Gary Green is on the ground, and he appears to be unconscious. Number 24 of the Kansas City Chiefs, and I do believe he's the coverage man, and Morton is down too. We've got casualties everywhere.
Well, Morton did not run on that play, and I think that most other quarterbacks would have. Now, it turned out just right for him, but you could tell as he rolled out to his left, and he had enough time initially to sing the Bronco fight song back there. Now he rolls out to his left, and he's thinking about running, and there is plenty of yardage in front of him, and at the last minute, he spots Watson open and lobs it out, and just as he did, he was belted by Dave Lindstrom.
His 9th touchdown. Watson now. I believe that's Craig Morton's 15th of the season.
It is.
Through 7 games. And Gary Green is still on the ground, and Craig Morton at 38 years old. I imagine anytime he touches the turf, he's going to get up with a bump or a bruise.
So Watson now is tied with Chuck Muncie for most touchdowns in the entire league at 9, and is way out in front in receiving touchdowns with those 9. Billy Sims of Detroit, who plays tomorrow night as the Lions take on the Bears in the Monday night game, had 8.
I think, I think Gary Green had coverage on Watson here, and just the contact, and it must have been between 2 Kansas City Chiefs. And Green got the short end of the stick, but a fine catch. And once again, good concentration on the football by Watson. Now 7 catches, 75 yards, heading for another 100-yard game.
You know, on the previous play, Kansas City, I think, had a legitimate beef when they claimed intentional grounding. The key on intentional grounding is, do you throw it away to avoid loss of yardage? If you simply throw it away and you're not being pressured, they can't call it. But clearly, Morton was trying to avoid loss of yardage, and there was nobody near where his pass ended up.
I'll tell you why they don't call pass interference. Next chance they get on that particular play.
Fred Steinfort hits on the point after. Very much a ball game. 8:59 to play at Arrowhead. The Broncos will kick off, and they have cut the Chief lead to 7. Down play, both Gary Green of the Chiefs and Craig Morton of the Broncos evidently were just shaken up, and they're both okay and will continue. Steinfort kicks off. James Murphy, the rookie. Murphy to the outside at the 25 and about the 27 and out of bounds. Rob Lytle with the tackle. Now, we were talking about the possible intentional grounding call just before the touchdown play, which Morton got away with. Your theory on that, Trump?
One of the quirks of the officials of the NFL is that on a right-handed quarterback, the referee, the man in the black hat right there, will sit back and to the right of Craig Morton. He is not looking to his right. He is only looking through the quarterback to make sure that there's no pressure. Although he rolls that way, he should see that. But I still say he's watching Craig Morton more than he is where the ball goes to make sure that there's no roughing the passer. And that's one of the quirks of the rules of the officials.
So there was no penalty on that play, and the Broncos scored on the next snap. 8:48 left. Kenney with a 7-point lead goes to the air. Henry Marshall makes the catch, but he's immediately in the grasp of Aaron Kyle. About 3 yards on the play, maybe 4. Well, Tampa Bay is making a ball game out of this at 15-13. Doug Williams hits Jimmy Giles for Williams' second touchdown pass of the game, a 13-yarder. The point after was blocked. They have 10:16 to play in the game. Oakland by 2. And the Giants just continue to pour it on Seattle. 29-0 at the Kingdome. Joe Danello, his 5th field goal of the day. This one a 31-yarder. 11 minutes left before the Seahawks are put out of their misery in that one. Kenney keeps the ball, and they whistle it dead to try and avoid any injury to him. Bob Swinson all over him. Was that a design play, Trump?
I believe it was, yes. It looked like a rollout. Henry Marshall was running a short pattern here. Yes, that is a bootleg. I think they're looking to either throw the ball out here short to Marshall. Mr. Kenney showing me some pretty good strength there. Swinson is no turkey when it comes to throwing somebody on the ground. That play did not work, and I believe it was designed as a rollout.
So that makes it 3rd down and 10. As they lose 4 on the play. Kenney in trouble as he intercepted by Gradishaw. Gradishaw's second interception of the game. And he is down at the 26-yard line of Kansas City.
37, Joe Delaney, the intended receiver. That's one of the most dangerous things I think any offense can do. Roll one way, throw back against the grain. Gradishaw was right underneath Joe Delaney. And you see he's pressured someone out of the pocket, throws back, and he hits him right between the numbers. Good catch by Gradishar, but Delaney is just to the left of that yard marker. You can't really see him. Second interception, 5th turnover of the day by the Kansas City Chiefs, and How would you like overtime, Mr. Costas?
We've had it 2 times in the last 3 weeks, you and I. We had it at Pittsburgh against the Patriots. We had it at Miami when the Dolphins tied 28-28 with the Jets. Morton with a play fake.
Oh.
They'll rule it incomplete. Not a fumble, incomplete. Odoms couldn't hold it. Burris on the coverage, and Burris has been popping Odoms all day long. The rookie strong safety has shown little fear.
I don't understand why Riley Odoms would not catch that pass. That was right in the breadbasket, just slipped right through his hands. Haven Moses obviously in with the play right now. I believe we got to put that one squarely on the shoulders of Riley Odom. And head coach Dan Reeves not very happy with that.
7:29 left.
Watson in the backfield. 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, and a tight end. Riley Odoms now for Denver.
Odoms redeems himself, making the catch along the sideline. At the 12-yard line, it'll be a first down.
Morton now 24 of 36 for 327 yards. Odoms on the inside of the formation, just a simple out pattern. Harris, no, that's not Harris. That's 51 Jackson, giving him too big a cushion.
By the way, Trump, Steve Fuller is warming up on the Kansas City sideline because Kenney has just had a terrible day, with the exception of the touchdown pass to Marshall. Now the Broncos going after the tying score. Preston trying to sweep left. He bangs inside the 10. Gary Spaney with the tackle. Gain of 4 to the 8-yard line.
You know, it would really be impressive if the Denver Broncos, as poorly as they have played for almost this entire football game, to come back and really make a game of it. They're now 8 yards from tying this ball game up, and if they get back in this ball game, they will have really dodged a giant bullet.
Oh, Miami gets a scare from Washington, but the Dolphins hold on at home and win 13-10. Miami is now 5-1-1, and Washington is 1-6. And many of you will see Miami play the Cowboys as the second part of a doubleheader next week on NBC. I believe they took too much time.
No. I tell you what that is. They ran motion inside the 20 when they have not done it outside the 20. If you don't run it outside the 20, you can't run it inside the 20. One of the quirks of the rules, once again. I'll bet you, I don't know how they call it, but the minute that Egloff went in motion, the referee threw his flag. That's exactly what it is.
One of the great esoteric NFL rules.
Let's hear this. Work, Mike.
Inside the 20-yard line has not been shown 3 times this game. 5-yard penalty.
You got it, brother. He is absolutely 100% correct.
Save the tape. One of the great moments in the career of Bob Trumpy. One of the few living humans who would have known that rule.
One of the few times I've been right. Let's be honest. When Egloff goes in motion, that's when the referee throws the flag. And if you don't show it outside the 20, you don't get it inside the 20. Dan Reeves is very upset. He's upset, but Dick Jorgensen is 1,000% correct.
Maybe you could call Reeves after the game and explain it to him.
Now, Dan Reeves is saying we've been running it all day. Whether he has or not, the referee has ruled that they have not shown it enough so far this football game. And why is Jorgensen going to the sideline, I wonder? And that's what Marv Levy is asking. What's he doing going over there for the explanation?
6 minutes and 41 seconds left. The Chiefs 21, the Broncos 14. The ball is pushed back to the 13-yard line where it becomes 2nd down and 11.
I bet Levy's saying to the official there, you wouldn't come and talk to me in the first half when I had a gripe, and yet he goes over to talk to Dan Reeves when he's got a gripe.
Haven Moses wide to the left, Upchurch wide to the right. Watson is in a slot on the right. Morton pumps, looks, throws for the end zone.
Barbaro tips it away.
He wanted Watson again. He was going for the hat trick to Watson. Could have been his 3rd touchdown.
And, you know, Morton showed his experience there, threw the ball into the ground. And I'll tell you what, if Barbaro doesn't get a hand on this ball, I think it's a completion. He pumps to the outside. Now watch, Barbaro just touches it, and Watson's ready to go down and catch it. Oh, my goodness. That is 18 inches from being another touchdown for Denver. 3rd down, now and 11.
6:36 left. You come up empty on this, you take the field goal. You don't go for it on 4th down, I'm sure.
That's no guarantee.
No guarantee that they do that, or no guarantee that they make it.
And no guarantee that Mr. Steinfurt makes it.
Morton from the shotgun. Got to go to about the 2 for the first down. They sack him for the 5th time. Don Parrish got there. Morton popped the football up for a split second as he was hit, but it bounced right back into his arm.
And at the worst of all possible times, Rick Upchurch and Steve Watson ran into each other at the goal line down here on the right-hand side, and Morton had no receiver whatsoever. Here you see Morton. At the bottom of your screen, you saw Watson and Upchurch going. He was looking for somebody there. They bumped into each other. Now he's got nobody to throw to. Parrish on the sack, 5 for 38 yards today.
Now Prestige kneels at the 28. It's a 38-yard field goal for Freddie Steinfurt, who missed from 37 at the end of the first half, and is just 5 for 14 for the year. 30 in distance and wide to the right.
I must tell you that Steinfurt was late in reporting to camp because of a contract problem, and he certainly has helped his cause here today.
Well, Oakland led Tampa Bay 15-0 at one point, but Billy Capiz has just hit a 26-yard field goal. They have 5 minutes to play in the 4th quarter at Oakland, and Tampa Bay is in front, 16-15. Steve Fuller warmed up on the sideline during that last Denver drive, but Bill Kenney comes back out to direct the Kansas City attack. With 6:08 left, and the Chiefs in front 21-14. Nobody to hand it to, and Kenney goes down for a loss.
Joe Delaney was standing there like he was going to block. I think Kenney is talking to Delaney right now. It says, "You get the signal, son? You owe me one there."
The sack by Don Parrish just prior to the missed field goal by Steinfurt. And here's a look at the last play. Where is everybody?
That was a sweep right, and everybody swept right but the guy who was supposed to carry the ball.
Started to say that the sack by Parrish was Kansas City's 5th of the day, within 1 of their entire season's total prior to this game. Give the ball to Delaney. Big hole for him. Oh, Delaney, goodbye. All the way. Cover 82 yards. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Delaney has been a horse today for the Kansas City Chiefs. His 19th carry, 140 yards, and look at the speed. After he breaks that tackle, he is flat gone. What was that, 82 yards on the carry? My goodness. And I repeat, Bob, isn't it interesting that they still display faith in Joe Delaney? He fumbles the ball 3 times, loses it twice, and they still come back to give it to him. He had a 70-yarder called back. That's 250 yards out of Joe Delaney today with no penalty.
Flag down as Lowry connects on the conversion.
And this is against the #1 defense in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Prior to today,
Right,
maybe
yes.
not anymore.
Yes. Last week, Billy Sims kind of ate up that defense. He had 185 yards on 28 carries. This is an exceptional job. The guys up front, they've been running to the right side all day long. Barry Smith misses the tackle, and 10 yards down the field, he breaks free. He was a sprint champion. He was on the NCAA, I believe, 1-mile relay team at Northwest Louisiana, which was the NCAA champion, a 9.3 sprinter.
The most important block on the play was thrown by Brad Buddy, and once he burst through initially, it was all just the speed of Joe Delaney. Goodbye.
Yeah, he had enough speed built up, and a great block by Brad Buddy that anybody trying to tackle him by the arm, forget it.
Well, only moments ago, Denver was within 8 yards of tying the game up. They had moved to the 8-yard line of Kansas City. Penalty, a sack, a missed Steinfurt field goal, and an 82-yard burst by Joe Delaney. And just like that, the Chiefs are in front 28-14.
Well, I suppose everybody in Kansas City wondered if, in fact, the Kansas City Chiefs were for real. Last week, of course, they did shut out the Oakland Raiders 27-0. But if this doesn't prove that they are, in fact, a contender in the AFC West, nothing will.
And if this score holds up, and look at this boot by Lowry. We're halfway to St. Louis. If this score holds up, there's a three-way tie atop the AFC West. San Diego, Denver, and these Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs go on the road the next 2 weeks at Oakland for a quick return engagement with the Raiders, and then at San Diego. Next up for Denver, the Buffalo Bills.
I have a feeling that when Dan Reeves coming into this game, I don't believe he had a concern at all that their defense would not be able to stop Kansas City. He was probably just thoroughly convinced the defense would do a good job. But look at that.
Watson wide to the right, Upchurch off to the left. 5 minutes and 23 seconds remaining, and Steve DeBerg is coming the ball game now at quarterback. Dave Preston. Preston makes the catch and is very close to the first down. So evidently, Morton was shaken up more severely than we thought.
There he is on the bench.
Earlier, I guess he was sacked just prior to the missed field goal by Steinford. He had also been belted on a touchdown pass. Dave Lindstrom hit him on the second touchdown pass to Watson just a few minutes earlier. And after Gradishar made an interception, Morton came back on the field. Face mask penalty is called against Kansas City, so they tack 5 yards on, and the ball is at the 36 of Denver. And evidently, on the last sack by Parrish, Morton shaken up, and Steve DeBerg, the former 49er, comes in. Tony Reed. Whitney Paul, yet another fine defensive play as he brings him down. Right at the line of scrimmage, no gain on the play.
Are you sure there aren't two Whitney Pauls out there today? My goodness, he has been absolutely everywhere. We'll try to get your report on Craig Morton as quickly as possible. It appeared that they were checking pupils, see if they were dilated for concussion. We'll try to get a report.
Before that last pass to Tony Reed, DeBerg for the year had thrown 12 times, completing 9. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Broncos trail by 14, and their starting quarterback is on the bench. DeBerg firing one over the middle and straight into the arms of Gary Barbaro, and Barbaro has blockers in front of him. Down at the 29-yard line of Denver, and this one is all but over. DeBerg made the tackle on the play.
There is some justice in the world. 32 yards on the return of the interception. DeBerg is bothered here by Mike Bell, 99. You see that. And watch this overthrown right at Gary Barbaro. He could have fair caught that one.
He was open, Reed was, in the middle of the zone, Trump, but he threw it over his head.
So was Barbaro.
Barbaro was the most open of all.
Yes, he was.
Well, it seems like only seconds ago that Denver was on the verge of tying this game. Now they're on the verge of a very unhappy plane ride back to Denver. James Hadnot carries. Hadnot's 12th carry of the day, and he has racked up 63 yards so far.
Just hang on to the football right now.
The fans are roaring because they just announced that Tampa Bay has taken the lead over Oakland, a score we gave you earlier, 16-15 Bucks in the fourth quarter. .335 and ticking. Joe Delaney.
Look at that.
Delaney had 140 yards before that carry.
I never would have believed that Kansas City could run the ball with that much effectiveness against the Denver Broncos. This is the Orange Crush defense and has been the most talked about part of the Denver football team for the last 7 or 8 years. Sloppy game. Yes, a sloppy game. No doubt about that.
One of those Bronco turnovers led directly to a touchdown. Whitney Paul running 48 yards with a recovered fumble. A couple of the Chief turnovers ended promising scoring drives, and a few of them set up scoring possibilities for the Broncos. But thus far, the Chiefs have dodged most of the bullets. Kenney goes down. The clock stops with 2:42 remaining, and KC leading by 14. Well, Oakland now riding the seesaw is back in front of Tampa Bay. Chris Barr, a long one, a 44-yarder. 2:21 to play in the game. Oakland 18, Tampa Bay 16.
On that last play, once again, Joe Delaney went the wrong way, I believe. The only reason I say that is that everybody else went the other way.
Nick Lowry is now going to try a field goal out of the hold of Steve Fuller, who is kneeling at the 33, a 43-yard attempt for Lowry. First field goal he's tried today.
Kansas City is not rubbing it in here either. They must think of the point spread at the end of the season.
No good. Plenty of distance. It appeared to be wide to the left.
Because if this score stands, Kansas City and Denver will be tied along with San Diego for first place in the AFC West. So they need as many points differential between the teams they're tied with as they can possibly muster.
Nick Lowry, coming into today's game, had scored 55 points, tops in the AFC. The Kansas City record for points scored in a season is 129, and that's held, as you might expect, by Jan Stenerud, who did it in 1968 in a 14-game season. Lowry might approach that figure this year in a 16-game campaign. Greg Morton back in. Oh, what a gutty performance by Morton. The catch is made by Preston. He's immediately knocked back by Charles Jackson. We'll get the 2-minute warning before the next snap. So Craig Morton misses one series, during which Steve DeBerg throws an interception. Exactly 2 minutes to go. The Broncos with the ball and trailing it. That's wrong. 28-14. 28. The executive producer of NBC's NFL Football is Don Ohlmeyer. Coordinating producer is Ted Nathanson. The telecast of today's game has been produced by Terry Ewert, directed by Dick Klein. The technical director was Bruce Berquist, and the associate director, Jim Marcioni. Exactly 2 minutes remaining. 28-14, Kansas City in front. The ball at the Denver 30, the Broncos in possession. And now DeBerg comes in on the next play, and on a trick play, they try and give it to Preston off the shotgun snap. They don't get too much out of it. So Morton came back for one play, Trump. And now flags fly all over the place as some of the Chiefs were lingering and getting back to the line of scrimmage, and the Broncos were trying to give them a helping hand, shoving them back in the other direction. First downs in the game, belying the score. Denver 19 and the Chiefs 13. Here's Dick Jorgensen. They'll call it against the Chiefs, and rightly so.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, but I must tell you, I think that Whitney Paul was rather dazed because he was late getting up.
Whoa, a long step off here.
That's 15 yards for unsportsmanlike conduct, but I saw Whitney Paul get up late, and he appeared to be kind of dazed, and he was walking back, and Kelvin Clark 73 just grabbed him and tried to put him back on his own side of the line of scrimmage.
Sportsmanlike conduct, number 53, defense, first down.
It's about the only thing Whitney Paul has done wrong all day, as we pause briefly for station identification on the NBC television network.
This is KOA TV, Channel 4 in Denver.
First down, ball at the 49 of Denver. DeBerg from the shotgun. Preston makes the catch, and they say let the clock run. A minute 30 remaining. Broncos lining up quickly. Chiefs sort of meandering back to the line of scrimmage. DeBerg firing long. Let's see if Upchurch can run under it. No, Eric Harris is going to intercept it. Harris brings it back to the 27-yard line, and it's plenty of fun now for Kansas City. This is the type a situation where you really begin to enjoy yourself. Savoring a victory, which brings you into a first-place tie in the AFC West. Let's watch it again. DeBerg has been intercepted twice in his short stint in relief of Craig Morton. This was just to throw it up and pray.
Watch Barbaro. Blocks up Church to make sure that he doesn't make the tackle. That's 2 by DeBerg, 1 by Craig Morton on the day. That's now the 10th turnover by both ball clubs.
Split evenly, 5 and 5.
5 and 5.
It's hard to say who was hurt more on balance by their turnovers, but since the final score is going to show the Chiefs on top, it'll be the Broncos who will lament their mistakes and the Chiefs who will laugh about theirs.
You are absolutely correct. Coming into this ball game, too, the Denver Broncos had really been on an offensive roll. Throwing the ball for lots of yards down the field. Their defense had been just amazing through the first 6 games. And it's, I suppose, back to reality. Although they still now are tied for first place in the AFC West.
Broncos stopping the clock, and Denver has 1 timeout remaining with 58 seconds left. There's Craig Morton pacing along the sidelines. Let's go through those final scores again here. Cincinnati over Pittsburgh, 34-7. They just toyed with the Steelers today. New England, 38-10 over Houston. Second win of the year for the Patriots. The Jets win at Shea Stadium against Buffalo, 33-14. The Bills play the Broncos next week. Miami pulls it out over Washington at the Orange Bowl, 13-10. Cleveland had to come from behind, but did so to beat New Orleans, 2017. Minnesota hands Philadelphia their first defeat. No more unbeaten teams left in the NFL. 4 touchdown passes for Tommy Kramer as the Vikings win it. San Francisco goes to 5-2, beating Green Bay 13-3. Atlanta snaps a 3-game losing streak, tops the Cardinals 41-20. Big day for Steve Bartkowski. San Diego ups their record to 5-2. Going to be in a tie with the Broncos and the Chiefs as the Chargers win easily. Big performances by Fouts and Muncy at Baltimore as they wallop the Colts.
Jack Reddy wants to change the football, wants to make sure of the snap here.
Oakland on the 44-yard field goal by Chris Barr has the lead late in the 4th quarter over Tampa Bay, and the Giants wind up a 32-0 winner over Seattle at Seattle. Joe Delaney carries. Broncos can stop the clock once more, and they do with 49 seconds left. Well, with a break in the action, we'll take this opportunity to break away one more time. We'll return to Arrowhead in a minute. Joe Delaney was shaken up on the last play, raising the question as to whether or not he should still be in the game at this point.
Obviously, now he shouldn't have been. Hopefully it's not serious. It appears that it might be his ankle. He's had an outstanding day. I think his carries were 19 for 140 yards.
It appears that fewer than half of the better than 70,000 who were here today at Arrowhead Stadium remain in their seats.
Delaney's up, and with a little assistance from his friends, making it to the near sideline.
Joe Delaney, who broke this game open with an 82-yard touchdown run a few minutes ago. Here's a recap on the scoring. The 4 Kansas City touchdowns. Billy Jackson, a 1-yard run in the first quarter. Whitney Paul, a 48-yard run with a recovered fumble late in the first quarter. A 65-yard pass from Bill Kenney to Henry Marshall in the 4th period. And an 82-yard run by Joe Delaney to wrap things up. 2 Denver touchdowns, both 11-yard passes from Craig Morton to Steve Watson. And when you open the paper tomorrow, this is possibly what things will look like in the AFC West. Billy Jackson carries. When I say possibly, that is what it's going to look like for the top 3 teams, all at 5-2. The possibility concerns Oakland, which was 2-4 before today's game with Tampa Bay and holds a 2-point lead, but that game is still very much in doubt. So if that score holds up, Oakland would be 3-4. Seattle has lost to the Giants to fall to 1-6. Seattle's only victory of the whole season.
Would you repeat that, please? No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I didn't know what part of it you wanted me to complete.
All of it.
In any event, Seattle's only victory of the year was at home, second week of the season against Denver.
Kansas City is for real.
They won't have to snap it again, or will they? Well, they're going to get a delay of game, I guess. word on Joe Delaney is that Brad Buddy, his teammate, fell on his right ankle, but Delaney is okay and walking around on the Kansas City sideline.
Don't punt it, he says. Snap the ball and fall on the ground. What's he doing with Grupp in there?
They're just going to snap and fall down. They could take the snap in conventional fashion.
Yeah, they want him to take the snap from center.
Now they're moving him up closer so they don't have to snap it back so far.
Well, what they should do is have the quarterback in.
That's what I meant. Just take the snap in conventional fashion.
And as it is, Bob Grupp, who is not a quarterback, will take the snap.
2 seconds on the clock. And the Beast have won this one. Grupp running backwards and falling down. They touch him lightly and the ball game is over. The Chargers, the Chiefs, Dan Reeves Broncos are all 5-2. First place tie in the AFC West. The handshake between Levy and Reeves. And we'll be back to wrap things up at Arrowhead Stadium in just a minute.